Yes, people, welcome back to GNA TV and Chelsea Fan TV for this end of season review show. We'll be talking about the goalkeepers in the defense today. But before we do any of that, guys, we're going to be delving in to a little bit of transfer news, a little bit of talk on Poch, and then we're going to be getting the panel in, and then we're going to be talking about these defenders, goalkeepers, reaction, review, highlighting their performances throughout the season. It's going to be a good one, guys. Make sure you're smashing the likes. There's a lot going on at the football club at the moment as well. Tons going on at the football club as well, which may happen. Well, we may have some news in the next couple of days or so. So let's see what happens. But smash the likes and let's cue that intro. Yes, people, welcome back to GNA TV and Chelsea Fan TV for another. I keep saying another. There's no another. For the first end of season review show, which we will be highlighting the goalkeepers and the defenders today, guys. Before we do any of that, please make sure you're smashing the likes. We've got some transfer news to go into quickly that's come out today, and a little bit of information in and around Pochettino as well, which we're going to be getting into in this show. I need you guys to hit the thumbs, though, guys. If we're not hitting the thumbs, what are we doing? Hit the thumbs now, guys. Hit it. Share it. Share it on your social medias as well. Guys over on Twitter, good to see you as well. Hope you're all well. Big up to every single one of you. Like I said to you, we're going to be bringing the show to you every single day from now till Friday, guys, as well. So make sure you keep hitting them likes for us, and we'll keep bringing you the news as it comes in as well, guys. Let's quickly go into some transfer news, and then we're going to get the panel in as well. I want to start with this topic. Where is it? Is it this topic? Not this one. What is this one? I want to talk about a bit of transfer news before we start anything, guys. And we're going to start with the news in and around Maatsen. Now the season has ended. The transfer window's ever looming around the corner. And there's talks about Borussia Dortmund preparing an offer for Maatsen. The price is working around 21.3 million for him as well. Maatsen has a £35 million release clause, as we already know. I do think Chelsea will push back for more in the regions of around 30 million for the player, but there's also going to probably have to be some add-ons included into that as well. But, you know, the fact that we're even contemplating selling him is a bit of a bummer. But at the same time, when you look at how he's performed this season and where he's got himself in terms of heights, this is definitely one of the players that you can look at and say has brought value from going on loan. You know, he wasn't getting any time at Chelsea. Should have got time at Chelsea, in my opinion, under Pochettino. Wasn't. Decided to go out to Dortmund and now finds himself in a Champions League final for them. And playing very well this season in a left-back position that a lot of Chelsea fans were stressing about him being in. You look at our left-back options at the moment, and you look at Chilwell and Cucurella, they don't look the two best. Like, no one's taking control of that left-back position right now. No one's taking control of that left-back position right now. So it's a little bit frustrating. It's a little bit frustrating that, you know, that we're waiting, that we're having to look to do this. At the same time, I've also know that from PSR side of things, even though we've done a lot of asset selling to be able to buy players in this transfer window, we're going to have to start selling players as well. For the fact that Maatsen's actually on the books to be sold doesn't shock me. I think they will wait till the Champions League's finish first, and then I think Chelsea Football Club will make the decisions on, you know, on what they're going to do moving forward with that. Guys, there's nearly 100 people in the building already, guys. Make sure you're hitting the thumbs, guys. If you're not hitting the thumbs, what we doing? If you're not hitting the thumbs, what we doing? Ben, big up to you. Good to see you. Hope you're well, brother. He says, what do you think are our most likely left-back targets if we sell Maatsen? Well, it's a good question, because I do think it's an area that we will be looking at in the window. Will we sell Cucurella? Will we offload Chilwell? We'll have to see. I even think if we keep both, we still need a left back, because Chilwell's shown that he still can't keep himself fit. You know, Cucurella, I don't feel can maybe play every game next season. I don't mind him. Look, we've overspent on him, and that could lead to potentially selling him because of that. But I don't think he's the one for us to be starting every game, even though he's given us an option on the inverted side. Let's see. But I don't know. It's a good question. Let's talk about Alphonso Davies looking to leave Bayern Munich and Real Madrid being very interested. You know, there's also a couple of proven left backs in the Premier League, like Robinson, who could be a good option from Fulham. Kirkez from Bournemouth, who we saw the other day. There's a number of individuals that are potentially available, available in the market. It's just, will Chelsea trust what they've got, or will they go into the market and try and look, Big up Josh in the building. He says Kirkez, Theo, and Davis. Yeah, Theo's another good shout. Davis, Kirkez. These are all good options, These are all good options. I honestly think we need a better striker and a better goalkeeper. I don't think the goalkeeper is one area that I'll be sweating about too much at the moment. I think we have to sell the goalkeepers, Kepa. I don't think the amount of money we spent on Sanchez was right. I think we've effed that one up as well, in my opinion. But at the same time, it's just about now what we do moving forward, and how much money do we have to spend and where to spend it as well, And we have to make sure we use it wisely. We have to make sure that we're effective, That's the thing. So let's just see what happens more later on when it comes to Maatsen. We move away from Maatsen now on to more transfer news. And the next part of what we're going to go to is this breaking news in and around Trevoh Chalobah. Chelsea value Chalobah at around 25 million, supposedly. Yeah. I mean, I'm not too keen on the whole thing. I mean, comes from Matt Law as well. I'm not too keen on the whole getting rid of Trevoh Chalobah. I don't really think why we would, and even if he was up for sale, for me, he's a 35-40 million pound player plus. In the way that he's performed in these shorter periods, why the hell would we sell him for 25 million euros? Are you mad? Are you mad? Now I'm looking at this article as well, and I'm just reading into it, and I think it's ridiculous. I think this is ridiculous, but it's from Matt Law, and it says Chelsea are braced for new bids for Trevoh Chalobah this summer, following the defender's excellent form in the end of the season. Chalobah was made available for 25 million last summer and was subject of interest, right? But that was 25 million on a player that wasn't even playing football. So what we're doing here, the 24-year-old turned down the chance to move to Forest and is once again unlikely to consider a move to a club that will not be fighting in Europe or is not qualified for European competitions next season. A move to Bayern fell through late in the summer transfer window, and the Germans have signed Eric Dyer, which we know about. Tottenham are in need of a defender. It is believed that Chelsea will value Chalobah around 25 million again this summer, and his sale would help profit. That's a shit sale. That is, again, whoever's worked out that market value is an idiot. He's an idiot. Because if he was 25 million last summer, but he's in form now and he's been playing in form at Chelsea, especially through the period where we've actually turned the corner and he's been involved, why would you then sell him for 25 million again? I'd add another 10 mil on it. He's easily a 35 million pound player. If Axel Disasi costs us 35 million and Badiashile, why the hell is Chalobah 25? Yes, Steve, how you doing? Josh says the goalkeeper is fifth priority as well. I agree. Disgrace the way owners treat and value Trev. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. He's nowhere near a 25 million pound player. Injuries meant that Chalobah did not make a single first team appearance this summer until February, but since that has performed superbly and Chelsea did not lose a single game. Chalobah started all 5 of Chelsea's league games which they won to secure European qualification. He has played centre-back and filled in the right this season, has done well in each position, underlining his versatility. Having signed him in 2022, Chalobah's contracted to the club until at least 2028 and will not push to leave the bridge, where he first moved at the age of 8. But Chelsea are expected to listen to bids for Chalobah, Gallagher, Brower, Maatsen. It's also likely to leave the club permanently also. Chalobah has proved his determination to fight for his place under a number of managers. Frank Lampard, Tuchel, Pochettino, rating him among as one of the best defenders at Chelsea. With Fofana returning from injury and Reece James and Gusto competing for right back, Chalobah may once again have to fight his way back into the team. Yeah, like we should do, and we should have competition, but we also should have versatility as well. Why have we not got versatility? Why are we not looking at versatility and having squad depth and options? I don't get it. I will never doubt Bowley in a business sense. Look how they found loopholes. Yeah, but again, the loopholes are all fine for now. It's just where we find ourselves in the long run. And now we're going to move away from transfer news. We'll keep you more up to detail with that. But then we're going to move on quickly to a bit of Pochettino, and then we're going to go into the end of season defensive review. 10 minutes in, guys. Smash the like buttons. Smash it. Let's get the likes up, guys. Let's get everyone in. Chelsea want a head coach who will feed into the conversation around potential signings and sales, seeking to dictate strategy or make demands and commit to work with talented assembles. So basically, they want it's a bit of a dictatorship. They want someone that they can basically say, look, we're buying the players. You may bring the best out of them. They will have some sort of involvement, but not a big involvement in terms of I want him, and that's going to make my system. It seems more like they're looking at using data, the recruitment team that they have to make the decisions what they feel is better for the group of players that we have at the moment. And that's where Stewart, Shields, Winstanley are all now doing, being paid to be here for, do their jobs, scouting reports, tell us who would suit what we're doing, understanding the profile. These are the things that they're being called on now. Whose contracts are ending? No one's. I don't think Chalobah's was ending. There has been reports Poch will take Walker if he sells Gallagher. Imagine that. Zach, how you doing? Big up to you guys. Over 100 people in the building. Let's go. We're staying on Pochettino talk before we go into anything else. Pochettino is highly regarded by Manchester United and would receive interest from other big European clubs. And that's the one thing that I have been hearing, to be quite honest with you. If they opt to walk and leave and part ways, Pochettino's reputation apparently is not going to be damaged by the media. It's more going to be about Chelsea sacking a manager 2 in 2 in the space of a season and a bit. So Pochettino actually getting sacked doesn't really bear an effect on him as a manager because of what he's done at the end. And he's on the media side at the moment, supposedly. So, it seems like he will just find somewhere else to go, is what I'm meaning. And he could walk. He could walk. There could be a mutual agreement. There could be, I don't know. There could be a number of things. Chelsea could sack him, but I don't see that. Not after what he's done in terms of what he's achieved. So it's going to be about him and how much involvement he can have in the window and be involved in what we're doing, which may lead to a decision whether he wants to be here for another season. I don't know. Gallagher, end of contract? He is, yes. He is, yeah, correct. If we get McKenna, I will never support Chelsea again. I will support Real Madrid. Listen, I've heard the McKenna news, and it really is very worrying. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. The McKenna news is weird. Listen, we're going to be keeping you up to date on Poch news anyway as well, guys. That's for sure. Let me just put the link in there for the panel. We now move on to Sack Poch. He has our fans turning into puss. And he's great now. Reece James Kingdom, big up to you. Good to see you as well. Hope you're well. We then move on to a bit more Pochettino talk. Mauricio Pochettino is highly regarded. Oh, we spoke about that. Let's get rid of that. Wrong one. We go on to the comments that Piers has had on his page. And he goes on to talk about TalkSport understand Pochettino will consider quitting if he is not given a greater say in transfer policy. Pochettino to Gallagher, but Egbali is open to offers. Well, that was always going to be the case, right? That was always going to be the case, really and truly. So I don't really know what the shock there is. That wasn't the one I wanted to show you, though. What was the one I wanted to show you? And then we got a point from Pi saying no to Hal, no to Mikel, no to Frank, no to McKenna, no to company, no to anyone who is Potter V2. Third season as owners. It's time to get serious. Just keep Pochettino if these are the sort of nonsense we are potentially thinking of. And listen, guys, I wouldn't sit here and ignore the fact that the board may be looking at a younger manager because that could be a potential. So if these are the names that are on the list, along with maybe a Fabregas and others, then maybe we have to think twice about getting rid of Pochettino. Maybe we do have to look at maybe keeping him and giving him another season like these owners said they want. They want stability. They want longevity. They want to give the right manager the opportunity to run and flourish. It's going to be an interesting week. That's all I'm going to say. It's going to be an interesting week. Couch, what are you saying?
It's going to be an interesting week. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's yeah. It seems like we get to a point where we are, at least on an upward trajectory, and then everything gets torn down again with this club. It was no different when we had Maurizio Sarri, and gets us third, gets us a Europa League, and then he's out the door. Obviously it was his decision to do that, but I'm at the position right now where I'm not looking to move on from a manager who basically uh basically got us to a position where we're in Europa League with a squad, with half of a squad. I think right now, given the fact that we have such a young team right now, the last thing we need to do is chop and change again, go get our fifth manager in like 3 years or sixth manager in 3 years. It's just nonsense to me. Like, we need stability. We need somebody that can come in and stabilize the ship, whether it be for 2-3 years. Sure, but anything under that is just nonsense. And even on top of that, you'll have a hard time attracting players to this club with the mess that is happening at the boardroom right now. Like, you'll have a hard time getting players to go, you know what, I'm coming to Chelsea, knowing what's going on there right now, if they have other suitors. I mean, you'll have a hard time getting a decent manager to come in as well. Maybe that's why they're thinking of going young, because anyone that is of a top class is not coming to Chelsea with all the the upheaval that continually happens time and time again, year after year, every 6 months, basically. So, there's a lot of that going on, and we have to think about this younger squad. They need stability. They need to have a consistent sound, a consistent voice, and a consistent way of playing. Like, the chopping and changing can only really ruin what is almost ripe for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think, in my opinion, I think he has secured himself staying here. I think there is a little bit of a there's still a bit of a if and a but, and I think there is still a disagreement from a board level in terms of maybe him staying for another year. But then you got to look, and this is where they've just got to be a little bit more sensible, and they've got to think, right, who's available in the market at this time? Who are we looking at? Who is it that's impressed us? You can be impressed by some of the names in there, but that Kieran McKenna one, like, for example, yeah, he done well with Ipswich. He's got them into promotion. But talking about taking on a championship manager who has never played and had any Premier League experience, and ask him to come into a top 6 team and manage and be incompetent, and it's crazy. I'm sorry.
It's not even just like a top 6 team. It's Chelsea.
It's Chelsea.
Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
like Chelsea in and of itself is one of the toughest jobs in world football, especially right now. Like, it's London based. And yeah, Josh hit facts there as well too. Like, they spent the entire year fighting for this guy, and now you're going to ask him for what? To get a guy that's just come up from the championship? Like, it just. Anyways, I don't know if that's accurate. If that reporting is accurate.
No, but
So it'd be difficult for us to really go in depth on that
No,
at this
and
point in
listen,
time. But
we're going
seems
to
silly.
learn a lot. We're going to learn a lot more very soon. That's for sure. I can tell you that. It seems like there's going to be a lot going on in the next couple of days or so, guys. So we'll keep you up and posted. Listen, we're going to be doing a show every day, like we said, for the season, the end of season review. We're categorizing it and splitting it all the way up till Friday. We might have to revert if some breaking news comes in, and we have to deal with the news that's come in, which may happen. There's 120 people here at the moment. 18 minutes in. Tap the screens.
Yeah.
Share it out. Smash the likes. Come and say hello. People watching us on Twitter. Big up the news. People watching us on Chelsea Fan TV and GNA TV. Hit the likes, guys. We need to run these likes up if we can as well. That would be amazing. Poch is better than Harry Potter. He was playing that. Oh my goodness. Some of these comments crack me up. I swear. Amrin, who's a top coach, said he's ready to come if Poch is sacked. Couch, what you're saying makes no sense. Yeah, but that's
Okay.
not true. Is it?
And Amarin, you know how much you have to pay to get Amarin out of his contract? What are you talking about, son?
Yeah, there's an issue. I think there might be an
read
issue
a
with
magazine, man. Go read a magazine. Go have a coffee, man. Read a magazine. Read a book. Get your head in a book.
Yeah, I do think a lot of you like, it's easy just to say we want him, we want that, but there's more. It's more to it than that, guys. Sometimes, And from what I understand with Amarin is that his release clause is a bit of an issue. So let's see what happens. Let's see. Pochettino might still be here, and this whole manager thing will disappear then, and we'll have the clarification, and then we'll be going into next season with Pochettino, or there will be a mutual agreement, or something, and he'll be gone. So one way or the other, we will see what happens. But we'll keep you up to date with any manager news as well. Ross Barkley to Villa is close. That's true. Of course, Aaron would want that Chelsea job. I think most managers want a Chelsea job. That's why they're all on a bit of a stall, because they are thinking, wait, if they're going to go, there's an opportunity here. But at the same time, if I was a manager coming over and, coming into a club like Chelsea, there's got to be some, in your mind as a manager or a coach, there's got to be some sort of like levels. Do you know what I mean? Like that you need to set in your head, like, because you can't just be coming into a dictatorship where you just do what you're told. In my opinion, that won't work with any manager. Forget the experienced managers. In my opinion, that won't work with any manager if they can't have any sort of input in the system, in the players, in who to keep, maybe who to bring in, or these kind of things. So I don't know. It's a lot's going to be said. I think there's going to be a big story soon, and I think a lot's going to be said in about what route we've decided to take, in whatever route it is, whether it's him going, whether it's him staying, whatever the routes are. I think we'll get some information on. We'll have to wait and see. Of course,
yeah, and let's not forget as well that it's not just down to what the board wants, and maybe it comes down to what Pochettino wants. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's decided that he doesn't want to, continue on as coach based on the fact that he can't make the decisions a manager can make for the players coming in and whatnot. It could be a number of things, So I don't think that it's as cut and dry as like, okay, well, Egbali doesn't like him or Egbali wants a younger coach. It could just be down to Poch saying, you know what, this roller coaster that I was on for the last year is more than enough for me right now. I feel like I've proven myself as a coach. I can probably go elsewhere and get a job elsewhere right now. I don't think he's worried about positions right now. And he is speaking pretty brazy, like at the end of the year too. When you look at his post match interviews as well, he wasn't really too concerned about whether or not they keep him or not.
We're going to quickly just highlight this as well, because it has just come out. The England squad for the Euros, guys. Yeah, I mean, the same old shit, really. Aaron Ramsdale, Pickford, Henderson, 4 goalies. Braithwaite, Dunk, Gomez, Gay, Konsa, Maguire, no shock. Why is Maguire even in there? Konsa, Shaw, Stones, Trippier, Walker. No James, no Chilwell. No Trent. Oh, Trent's in midfield. Okay, Fez. Trent's in midfield.
That midfield is awful. Awful.
That midfield makes me sick. Trent, Conor Gallagher. Where's Declan Rice?
He's there.
Declan Rice. Conor Gallagher, Curtis Jones. The best 3 is Rice, probably Mainu, and maybe Gallagher or Trent. Right, that's going to be.
I'd put Bellingham in the midfield, to be honest. But
Bellingham. Yeah, Bellingham's down there, isn't he? So yeah, it'll be Declan, Bellingham, and Mainu, I reckon, which ain't too bad when you look at it like that. And then you look at the forward line: Bowen, Eze, Foden, Gordon, Grealish, Kane, Maddison, Palmer, Saka, Tony. I don't know how Elise ain't in there. That's a joke.
He's French.
Oh, he's French, isn't he? I don't think he's English.
Well, he is. He can play for England. He can play for Nigeria. He can play for France.
Can Elise play for England though? I didn't know that.
I think so.
I don't even know. That's a good question. But you look at that forward line. It's going to be Kane, Saka, and Foden, isn't it? Probably Rashford's not there. Is Grealish there? Yeah, Grealish is.
Yeah, Grealish got in.
Grealish hasn't even been playing. I mean, the strikers are good. Tony, Watkins, and Kane is a strong 3. You look at that, but nothing. Nothing. That was a joke. Yeah, I mean, yeah, my Mount in there. Yeah. Oh, there ain't many Chelsea players there. That's for sure. Just Gallagher, in it, and is Colwill there? No.
Colwill hasn't played in ages.
And Palmer. Gallagher and Palmer are the only 2 people representing Chelsea Football Club over there.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Come on, let's get into the end of season review. I did expect the boys to come in a bit sooner. Otherwise, this is going to be a quick sum up of this defence and goalkeeper.
If you're listening to me, I'm just going to say they're all shit and we'll be done, right?
Well, this is why I needed Don, but Don's somewhere else at the moment doing that. And then you've got forward. I don't know where forward is. Usually he's always about. I think AJ's coming, and I think what's his name's coming as well. Devin, Callie, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll start with the goalies. me and you. Guys, this is how we're going to rate it at the moment. We've got Bozo Sell, poor season, average season, above average season, and then we're just left too cold for now as well. This is the end of season review for the goalkeeper and defence only. Tomorrow will be the midfield as well. We're going to start with Sanchez. We spent 30 odd million on him. He started the season. He done some horrendous thing. I remember him going up for a corner and running back and trying to stop the goal from going in at home at the bridge. What are we saying, Couch? Are we saying?
Well, you go first. You speak on it, man. What do you guys say?
I feel that I just think he's not a great shot stopper. I feel that he's not that good of a goalie, and I feel that the only thing that he has is okay on, which is his distribution, isn't even that good. And when I look at how he has been all season and the amount of goals we've conceded, 60 plus odd goals, all right, he's a part of it. When you look at the earlier results in the season, which I'm going to let's go to Chelsea's fixtures, Chelsea season. And you look at, let's scroll back into a bit of time here. You go back to the beginning of the season.
We were better defensively at the beginning of the year, to be honest.
Well, let's have a look.
Put it out there. I'm sure we were.
Our first game was 4-3 against Brighton.
Yeah.
And then
pull it up so we can all look.
Yeah, we can have a quick look. Let's revert back to this for a second, because we have to look at these things as well, guys, when we're taking into consideration. I mean, 4-3 against Brighton, then 1-1. Then we won 2-0, drew 1-1 with Dortmund. No,
that's all the preseason stuff.
Yeah, where is? There we go. Sorry, I think we were well. I'm thinking to myself, what's going on here? Where? 1 second.
No, you're right. Keep going up. Keep going. You're good.
August. We're here.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah.
Around here.
So we started with Liverpool. Liverpool
was our first game. So we drew 1-1. We lost to West Ham 3-1. That was an abysmal game, by the way. I remember that. That was a shambles across the pitch. We then beat Luton 3-0 at home. Just about beat Wimbledon 2-1. Lost to Forest at home 1-0.
Oh, hold on. Yeah, get Josh in here, man.
Yeah, okay, cool. 1 second. Let me get Josh in here as well. Let's get some more people in there. Okay, Josh. Josh, you're going to have to message me. Have I still got him here? I'm sure I've got him somewhere. There he is, yeah. I got him. There you go, Josh. It's with you now, bro. Yeah, going back to this. And then 0-0. This is September. Lost 1-0. I mean, we didn't concede loads of goals. You're right. We didn't concede loads of goals. Effectively, it got to October 21st where we drew 2-2. And that he had that absolute shambles of an error, which led us to drawing this game by passing it out to Declan Rice, which was on him. I remember this Brentford game as well. Shocking. Absolutely abysmal. And he played. I'm pretty sure he played. I'm sure he was in here as well. If we go to, he played. Did he play?
Oh no, we didn't play a substitute keeper for I can't tell you how long. It was always the same keeper for every game. So people were begging for Petrovic at this point.
And then look, we had the 4-4 at home, which he was in goal at with them. And then this Newcastle game was a beast.
I wouldn't put that on Sanchez though. We had so many errors in the back.
I mean, I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure.
We had a red card. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure the red card helped. Thiago Silva gave away the ball right outside the 18, right in on goal. There's a bunch of errors in that team, But again, shipping 4 ain't fun.
Yeah, I mean, and then going into December, I think it was all the way till he got injured, wasn't it? And then he came in, and obviously 3-2 against Brighton. So, and then 2-1 against Man United. And then when did Petrovic come in? That's what we've got to work out. I think, was it Wolves? I
can't say for sure, to be honest.
There we go. Petrovic. It was Wolves. I remember his first game, I'm sure, was Wolves. Let me have a look at the game before. He might have played this actually as well. This was the home game.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, he did. He did. He played there as well. Let's get Josh in. So effectively, if you look at it from, I don't know, say from Everton, because I'm pretty sure who was
Mhm.
in goal at Everton? Was it Petrovic?
Yeah,
Sanchez. Effectively
Sanchez.
from Everton, where he was awful. There's a lot of bad games. And I mean, there was not a lot conceded at the beginning, but then it seemed to just got worse. So there was some games where we can say, all right, it wasn't on him, it was a defense. It was the defense, it was a structure, it was a setup, it was these things. But equally, when you look at him as a goalie and how he's performed through that period, I've got to
Mhm.
say, poor. I mean, you got Kepa coming back. The argument here is who you keeping and who you selling between the two.
Kepa, what are you talking about? I'm selling Kepa. Like what?
Oh, it's not as an easy, clear question to some though.
What? How so?
Yeah, I was talking to some Chelsea fans that said we should get rid of Sanchez and keep Kepa because apparently Kepa's
Wow.
better than Sanchez.
Okay.
I mean, what do you say, Josh?
Is both an acceptable answer?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sanchez, honestly, one of the worst on the ball that I've seen in a while. He was so bad. And there were several games, or at least earlier in the year, where he almost single-handedly cost us several goals by giving away the ball at the back very sloppily, and was probably saved a few times by some sharp center back play when he did give a ball away. And I never had a game this season when he was in goal where I didn't feel shaky or nervous at some point in the game. I can say without a doubt when Petrovic was in goal, I did not have those same sorts of nervy, unending moments in a game when the keeper was in. Just not once. But with Sanchez,
I agree.
Every game I was waiting for the one moment where he was going to fuck us. Every single time he played, there was going to be one moment where he was going to fuck us. And it was either, are we going to have what it takes to win the ball back or keep a goal from happening, or are they going to score and we're done? But to me, I would look to move on if you can. I mean, we're going to probably take a small hit on the price just for what we paid for him. But if you could move on from him and Kepa, I would look to do that.
Yeah, I don't think we'll sell both. Obviously, I think one will stay. I don't think the goalkeeper area is an area that we will look at in the summer. I don't think it's that high up in terms of demand at this moment in time. I think we may need a goalie eventually, depending on how I think Petrovic performs again next season. But can we get away with Petrovic in goal for a full season, which we're going to get to in a second? I think so.
I highly doubt that Kepa's in a position where he's going to come back to the club and want to stay at the club. His agent's going to be working overtime to try and find him a position or a squad that will take him on, whether it's on loan or otherwise. He's not coming back to Chelsea to play. You know, like once you leave like that, like there's no chance he's coming back. So that's not even a concern for me.
Should we leave Sanchez in poor then for now? Yeah, he's just been poor.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. What about Petrovic? Because he comes in, he only cost 14 million to the club. He gets his opportunity after the Everton game. I think that he then came into the team. Has he had, in my opinion, he's had more better games than he's had bad games, in my opinion. I don't think you've seen as many errors in his game than you have Sanchez through that period, again, in my opinion. And I think for what I like about him is that I don't panic. Like I had that panic with Sanchez. I had that panic with Kepa. I had that worry that a shot from 20 yards out is going to like bend in and we just lose. But with Petrovic, I feel a bit more secure with him in goal. And I just think he's actually a better goalie. I don't think he's like a great goalie. I'm talking about levels. But what I'm saying is I feel like he's doing a job at the moment. I think he's doing a very good job of it as well. And I think when he's called upon and we need him, he tends to do I say that most of the time he tends to do the job and he tends to make things happen. He has had, I know he had that error where he should have saved it. He used his wrong hand. I can't remember who it was from a corner and he flapped it and it went in. I remember that. But when you look at his overall performance this season for us, I would personally say above average.
Nah.
In my opinion. Why not?
Nah.
Why?
Like there's more. He's average to me. He's average to me without question. And the reason why I say that,
how much he cost Couch.
Sorry,
how much he cost the club as well for how he's performed.
So we're taking the price in. So we're gonna have some problems when we get to the midfield.
Yeah, I think you have to do that, Couch. I think you have to look at that a little bit. It doesn't have to like tip the scale
Okay,
for you, but it does have to come into consideration, I think.
Okay, so then we're gonna have, when we get into the midfield, we're gonna have some problems. Then we're looking at Enzo's fee and like Caicedo's fee. We're gonna
Oh,
have some
sure. I
real
mean, listen,
problems
if
there,
you
right?
want to, yeah, I mean, if
Okay,
you want to hold,
it's just I
I
don't
mean,
know. I don't
maybe.
I don't
Listen,
take
I
the
could
price.
argue.
I'm talking about Chelsea level. Like, what's the Chelsea level? Regardless of what we paid for, like Aspilicueta was 7 million. We don't judge him based on what he was paid for. You know what I mean? Like, it's what he what he brings to the club. And for me, I'm sorry, distribution wise, poor. You know,
Got better, though.
better than
He's got better though. It's recent games and some of his past.
yeah, I'll say that. But for the most part, he's been poor. You know, and I would say that while he does have a better he's a better shot stopper for me. I think the team in front of him started to play a lot better as well. You know, so we weren't conceding chance after chance after chance after chance. Like, there's so many games, like, especially down to stretch here, where we're like, well, did he even get tested? Was he even tested? And most of the time it was like, no, he wasn't even tested. He just
He
play.
has been tested, though.
Well, there's a reason for that too, though, Couch, right?
Well, the
I wouldn't say he
team
hasn't
in
been
front of him's
tested.
better.
He's been important.
They're more confident in him. That's a big thing too. When your defense is confident in the guy behind them, they play a little bit. You get a little bit sharper play.
That's true. That's a good point.
When you're nervous to pass the ball back to Sanchez because you know he might duff the ball and give it back to Odegaard at the top of the box, that becomes a real issue in your head as a defender when you don't have to worry about those kinds of things.
Yeah, sometimes
it is a symbiotic relationship for sure.
I think sometimes just kicking the ball and it not going nowhere is better than just trying to do a techie little pass that ends up going into a goal. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like,
I mean, I'm not comparing him to Sanchez. I think that he's been better than Sanchez, but to say he's above average, I don't know about that.
Yeah, see, this is where I might tip. I'm gonna have to tip the scale probably with Jem on this one. I honestly do think he has been above average this year. I really do. And I'm not above average to me isn't great, Couch. I know what you're saying when you're thinking about like the Czechs, the Courtois of the world that we've had. Which, to be honest with you, that was the last time we really had good keepers. Mendy was a 1-year guy who was not very good after that. Kepa, never really that good. Maybe a half a year, a season maybe he was okay. We haven't really had that guy since Courtois, so it's hard to judge all of them based on that. So for me, from the keeper play I've seen over the last, say, 4 years, he was above average for me this year.
I don't evaluate like that, but I can see why you guys say that.
No, but I get. Yeah, go on.
Go ahead, Jim. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I get what Couch is coming from a degree. And when you look at what Couch is saying in terms of it being average, I think you look at the stats, and I'm looking at the stats now for his overall season. He's had 31 appearances. He's conceded 44 goals and only had 7 clean sheets.
Wow.
But so that's across all competitions, FA Cup, EFL Cup, Premier League.
That's a lot of goals.
Yeah, shoot, but I would also put on, if you watch, and I know you guys watch the games. If you watch the games, the goals that we've given up, these aren't goals where you're going. These aren't goals where you're going like Petrovic fucked us on that. You know, most of these are like soft defense, guy loses his guy, own goal type stuff. Like these aren't things where, like when he's been called upon to really make a save on a guy where he's gotten through. He's done that most times, more than not this season. He really has made big saves when called upon. Now, I mean, obviously, not every goal is the defense's fault, but I would say with him, the majority of the goals that he gave up were things that he really didn't have much of a say in. If you know, put it that way.
And I'm looking at the majority of the goals. I'm looking at the majority of the goals conceded in the second part of the season where he's been in goal, and a lot of them have been the Liverpool's, the 4-1s, like the Newcastle at home 3-2. 4-2 against Leicester, 4-3 against Man United, 5-0 against Arsenal, 2-2 against Villa. They're sort of the bigger scores from the period, and 4-2 at home. If you remember that one where we lost to Wolves, 4-2 at home.
The United game is a game to me that jumps out as one where I could put one of the goals on him. You know, he didn't come out enough, or he came out too quick, and he didn't.
Yeah.
Guys, it's average. Let's be real. It's average. 38 goals conceded, man. Come on. It's average.
Yeah, but I think also eye test is important as well. And I think it could, if you look at it from the eye test, I think it could have been a lot worse, Couch. Like that's a lot of goals, but I think he made some. He really kept us in certain games as well when he
Hey,
scored.
if you guys want to keep him there, that's fine. I'm just saying that's average to me.
No, it is the numbers, but
Sure.
then you have to look at, like you said, the whole squad, what was in front of him, and how it was set up, and what was
I
going
think the
on the
squad
time.
got better as the year
Yeah.
went on, though. We got better as
But
a team.
it didn't until later. You got to bear in mind he came in December. You know, we were still leaking goals. We went to Luton 2-0 up and just about won 3-2. Do you see what I mean? Like there was games, a lot of games like that where we still
Yeah, I
conceded.
mean, we had a 7-game run this year where we gave up 2 goals in each one of those games for 7 straight games. Like, not now, that's 14 goals. But I would argue that's hard to put maybe 13 of those on him. It's like it's really tough to do that.
No,
But
of course, but
I get
even
it when
still, like you
if
expect
you're
him to make the save. You want the saves to be made, and it's not even just like the distribution for me too. It's also like the command of the area, like from set pieces and whatnot. Like anyway, I think he's
he
average,
could
but
improve on that. He could absolutely
I hear
improve on
him.
that. I'm not, he's not a
No, wait,
complete keeper by any means, but I
oh yeah,
think
that's
for
what I was about to say. That's what I was about to say.
for what he was expected to do when he came in this year, which I don't think was much, because I think most people when we bought Sanchez thought he would be the starter. I think what he did and the return on investment we got for him was an above average return. So that's
I'll
why I
give
put
you
him.
that. I'll give you that.
I hear that. I think there's some very good discussions and analysis on that, and I see both sides. By the way, I'm not like fully like saying Petrovic is the greatest goalie we've ever had
I
in a
agree.
while. Saying that,
Yeah.
you know, he's a lot better. He makes me feel a little bit more at ease when I watch him in goal than I do with the others. That's all. But we move on. Let's go on to defenders. Malo Gusto. I mean, again, how much did we buy him for? Can anyone remember off the top of the head? 20 odd
So
million.
we're really doing this money thing, eh? We're really
No,
doing
but we
this.
have to look at we
Okay.
have to look at the overall, what they've come in for, that's what they've done. Yes, people like Caicedo when we get tomorrow are it's going to be hard to judge him on money because even though they've still had a good performance, 100 million is just over the board for market value. We know that. But
All right.
when we talk about Gusto and his overall performance, what he's done this season, are we saying above average, or are we saying his overall performance is too cold? He's exceeded over expectations in terms of how he's performed, or do we just see a very good player in him? I mean, for me personally, I've been very, very impressed. I wanted him even before we signed him. I knew that there was a raw talent in him. I still think you can see them raw credentials in his game. I think his overall ability to get up and down the pitch with speed and usually tends to make the right decision defensively when it comes to tackling is good. I don't like, there is negatives to his game, which me and Couch spoke on. One of the things I don't like is when he one-on-ones with wingers, he kind of shows them allows them to go inside quite too easy, and he can't shift his body quick enough to try and block the shot. And we've been caught a couple of times. But when you think about everything else to his game, the overlapping, supporting the wingers that is on his side, the doing his job in terms of his defensive duties, I think he's been very, very good, very good, very good. But yeah, go on, Couch. What's your thought?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would say you pretty much touched on all the points that I would have highlighted. I would also say that, like he's shown maturity well above his years. I didn't even know that he just turned 21, like recently. Like I would have said he was like, the way he plays, you would think that he's like, 24, 25, in and around the same age as Reece James. He's been that good. You don't really notice the youthfulness with this guy. He's just been quality every time he's come onto the pitch. Needs to stay healthy. I think that's a problem. We need him to be healthy if he's going to be the deputy to Reece James, because we also need Reece James to be healthy, right? So there's that, but everything else, like his ball delivery, his defensive work, getting up and down the pitch, not really being caught out a lot. His awareness is usually pretty good. It's just the one thing that I have a problem with when it comes to Gusto, and it's just like what you said. Like I think that when teams are coming in with an inside forward, he has a difficulty in really showing the defender onto their weaker foot. And every time, he's kind of like he hasn't really sorted out his footwork well enough to snuff out the danger. So, but again, like at 21 years old,
Unbelievable.
I think he's been really, really good. I'd say I would put him above average. I don't really
Okay.
think that we need to go too cold.
Yeah.
Like
I feel like too cold. That's reserved for maybe one person this season, but Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
above average, absolutely. I mean, if there was like a very good there above that was just above average, I'd put him there because
Yeah.
honestly, he's 21. So to say that, I think to say anybody really knew much about his game, they would be probably not being fully honest with you. But I knew him coming into this season as an offensive style right back, like a right wing back kind of player. That's all I sort of really heard or had seen of him. What really surprised me was his defense. I know some of you guys are talking about the little things he can improve on, but I thought overall his defensive game was awesome. Like, I mean, especially to come into the Premier League, a physical league, I thought he was going to be a soft player. I really, just by looking at him from some of the comps I saw of how he played, I thought this was going to be a soft guy. He is not that. He is as much of a dog as Reece is from a mentality standpoint. And that was what impressed me the most. I think the health thing that Cal said is right, but I think that's a symbiotic relationship with Reece. When they're both healthy, they will keep each other healthy by both
True.
being able to give spare each other minutes.
I think, yeah.
Reece missing the Euros is the happiest news I got all day. I was so happy that he's not going to that crap.
When you look at his stats, he's played 37 games across all competitions: League, FA Cup, EFL Cup. He's got 9 assists in total, with along with only 7 yellow cards, and 1 red card for the 37 that he's played, which I don't think is too bad for a defender, personally.
I don't like the red card, but
not the way he plays, which is an aggressive style of defense, which I love. And to only have 7 yellows is pretty impressive, I think, too. I thought this kid was really. I'd like to see him add some goals to the book, but I think that will come as the forward line gets better. When defenses have to pay more attention to to Osimhen's and Cuckoo's, that's going to free up space for him to score goals more. So I'd like to see him add that part to his game. But man, really, really impressive player. Very, very happy with
and
the scouting department on this.
It's again, you've got to take your hat off to the scouting department. Not something that we can do a lot of on others, but they've done well here. And on that, we have Ads, who has joined the building.
Who?
For the defender and goalkeepers. Forward, sorry, not Ads,
there we go.
Forward.
Job, man. But yeah, I'm here, man. I'm here. Big up everybody. Big up everybody listening as well. Good to be here, man.
Talking about Malo Gusto's performance, season review, goalkeepers, defense, mate. What was your thoughts on his overall this season?
Yeah, I think a very good introduction to English football. Again, this isn't a guy who's had that much experience even in French football. So for him to adapt as well as he did was very impressive. Very impressive. And I was high on him even before he came. I thought he was going to be a good player to have as backup to Reece. And it ended up being that he was the first team guy because he's had a lot of injuries. So he's adapted very well. Maybe exceeded a lot of people's expectations, even including myself. And I mean, he had a lot of people even questioning maybe he's going to be our main star, even if James comes back, and James has to work himself back into the team, which is, I mean, that's all you can ask from a guy coming in who you looked at as a backup. You want them to challenge and contest for a starting place, even if your main guys are back. And I think obviously I still hold Reece in such high regard that I wouldn't even question him holding bench if he's fully fit. But Gusto certainly has shown that he can offer things that maybe Reece even can't at right back. Again, his pace is such a great outlet. Very good going forward. Pretty good defensively, again, things that he can certainly work on. But he's even showed that he can play on the left side as well. So it's certainly a good dynamic that we've added to the squad. I think you put him in above average. I think that's very fair. So overall, very good season for Gusto.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, moving on from Malo Gusto. The next one in line is Wesley Fofana.
What?
Has he played this season?
Yeah, why are we even rating him?
Yeah, I would say just have a hurt bar, Gem, and throw him in the hurt bar or something.
There'll be a lot of players in there.
Wait a sec. Let me say this quickly. 2 seasons, quarter of a season played from a 60-odd million pound defender.
80 million, bro.
80.
I think there was bonuses there though, and I don't think he's going to reach any of the bonuses.
Is this not an issue though? Like, is this not we might have to think of this if he's just not keeping fit and available?
Jim, I'll say this. I know this guy's kind of forgotten. I'm so excited to have him back next year, man. I listen.
Same.
Wesley Fofana, when healthy, is an absolute dog. And I'm telling you right now, he is going to bring absolutely nothing but intensity and pace and power and passion. And he's an incredible defender. When this guy is healthy, and I'm really hoping he gets a full preseason, we have center backs to help him out there with that. But if this guy's healthy for a full season next year,
we've not seen enough of him, Josh. This is the problem I have right now.
I've seen this guy play. I know what he's capable of.
When he also played, and we can't ignore, he had some horrible errors in his game.
Nobody does it. Nobody's error free.
Back to back, I remember.
You know how inconsequential the errors you're talking about are. Is that I can remember the one or two offhand out of all the games that he played coming into us, and to me that's not a huge deal. If I can remember one or two things that you did, I'm telling you, when he's healthy and fit, watch out for this guy next season. Right. I know it's easy to pile on him because he's been hurt, but he's a fantastic player.
I'll put injured, bozo, sell, or injured for him. All right, there's not much to say really on him because we've not really.
But he's the only guy that I have faith in that I think will be that can be that commanding center back for us.
Couch likes a defender. Interesting.
Well, I've always liked Fofana. It's just his injury record.
You didn't like any of our defenders. I didn't know that. So maybe it's just me then. All right, let's go.
No, I like Fofana. I think Fofana has something about him, but it's just he's got to stay healthy. Like we haven't really been able to see the best of him because he hasn't been healthy enough. So
sure.
And that's part of the difficulty that most people have with the purchase. It was just kind of like this guy's coming off a serious injury. We've spent like upwards of 60 some odd billion for him, and we still haven't seen the best of him. I know. I remember that.
Yeah, I was there on those streams as well, and I think I just want to briefly have my say on this because again, like hearing Josh talk about him being this dog, this lights out defender, basically. Like I did see that at Leicester pre-injury. I think post-injury, he came back and he was decent. But for me, my issue, and obviously I expressed this many times on streams with you, Jen, is that you don't relay that money on somebody who's just come back from that serious an injury. Like, there's just no guarantee he's going to be able to give you consistent minutes. And we've seen that play out here. And it's hard to be too harsh on him because, again, we've only seen 25% of minutes since he joined in 2 seasons. So it's unfair. But obviously, there were periods last season when he did play, and there were more than 1 or 2 mistakes for me. Like there were quite a few mistakes, and I'm not going to hold it too much against him because I agree with these guys. Of all of our centre backs on the roster, he has the highest potential, and he's shown the best football of all of them in his professional career. So, yes, there is room for optimism with him, but of course, there's a lot of concern, and there's no real guarantees with him that he's going to come back and be the same player that he was or improve to where he could have been. Because I'll just be honest, the trajectory pre-injury was that similar to a Saliba. And that's something that you want in your squad, but right now there are no guarantees.
Yeah, and I will say, go ahead, Coach.
No, you got it.
Just for listen, for this guy, I know the money thing is talked about a lot, and I think when you're talking about last year when he was playing, and this is the guy who was trying to play through an injury, his knee was taped basically the entire time he was fit to play last year. I mean, so the money, maybe that puts a bit of pressure on him personally to try to play through some injuries. And maybe that's what really kind of put him over the edge to get this big injury that he had last year. But I do think you got to have a little bit. He's a very young guy still. I think he's only 23, 24, something like that. So we have to have a little bit of patience with him. And hopefully if he does get that full healthy preseason, we'll see the best of him hopefully next year and be able to evaluate him going forward after that. So.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I'm worried about him just because he hasn't played a lot of football the last 2 years, and these are very important years for young footballers. I'm worried about him, but there's no denying that if he can get close to where he was before, he's quality.
Thiago Silva last season at Chelsea, again played a major part at the beginning. It was involved in a lot of the bad performances at the beginning as well. Came back into the team later in the second half of the season. Since that's been himself, very controlling, very good. So we can't evaluate him on past seasons because we know how good he's been, but look at him from this season. How do you feel about, and again, we've got to take out the fact that he's leaving out of this and just talk about the context of how his performance has been this season at Chelsea. As much as I love him and I think he's amazing and he's always great, I'd love to put him in that above average bracket. But at the same time, even I've seen some really poor performances with him in the team as well. and it kind of hurts to put him in average a bit. But at the same time, we just wasn't good, and even he was caught in moments of the earlier in the season, which then started making people question him being actually in the team and switching it and trying Disasi and Badia Shield, the Chuckle brothers, which we saw later, which didn't bother working. So at the end of the day, I'm going to put him in his average. At the end of the day, everything he's done for this club, coming in on a free, playing at the level he has, playing anyway at his age at the level that he has, and still to the end of this season, which I think he did improve on and show his qualities near more at the end, has been nothing else but just amazing and class. And we're going to miss him. We're just going to miss him hard. But he has had an average season based on the number of goals we've conceded as a club as well as a team. It's a lot of goals, man. It's a lot of goals to concede defensively. So
yeah, I would say that like a lot of that has to do with how we play though too, right? Like we play an extremely high. We didn't protect him. We play with an extremely high line for a guy that's like almost 40. You're exposing him a lot, right? For pace. I would also say that none of you can't put any of like our actual central defenders. I don't think you can put any of them in above average. Like after conceding over 60 goals in a season, where the bedrock of a defense is the center back position, I would say that all of them, if not pretty much all of them, are average to me. Just full, what were we looking for here? Like disclaimer on that, but I would also say that as far as our defense goes, as far as Thiago Silva goes, like that guy at 39 still exudes quality. Like, I mean, it's not consistent, and you kind of want to see it more for a team like Chelsea, but everything the guy does is just quality. I think that we can certainly, say that we got some good years out of him. And, I would love for him to come back to the club at some point, even if just to be some sort of a mentor to some of the younger players. I think he'd be great in that role if he can learn to speak English properly. Won't be disappointed to see his wife go though. She was a bit annoying for me, but yeah, average for me.
Go on then. What are you saying, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, this isn't a career rating. Otherwise, you could just go ahead and throw him right to the top, because I think when you're talking about Thiago Silva, you're not talking about like a Chelsea legend. This guy's like football royalty. This guy's a absolute Rolls Royce top 5 center back. He is that guy. When you speak about him, about his career, people will say this is one of the best center backs that played the game for sure. With us, he's been sensational. Like even a bad Thiago Silva game is an average game, maybe sometimes even above average. He could have a poor game, but do some things throughout the game that can totally redeem that one mistake. He's certainly timeless. I mean, you could say all the things about him. He's, absolutely incredible. This season, for sure, I think Jem's right. Early in the year, you saw a few deficiencies that I wouldn't say were totally on him, but definitely they highlighted the things that are issues for him now at this point in his career. And I do think that the club at some point did talk about maybe phasing him out, because they had to see what they had in Disasi, Badia Shield. They wanted to see what they had in these guys. So there was a point in the season where he didn't play much. And then I think towards the end of the year, Poch realized, like, hey, if I want to get the best out of these center backs, I need to pair him with a young guy. I need a young guy and a little bit of experience to get the best pairing. And I think you saw that even with a guy like Chalo. He would play Chalo with a Badia Shield. He would play Thiago with a Disasi, or Thiago with a Badia. He would play a more veteran guy with one of the young guys, and you got the best out of that young guy by doing that. So yeah, I mean, elite level for this season, you can say average. I think is okay to say average for this season, just based off minutes, the amount of time he played, didn't play, but absolutely incredible player for sure, club legend. All the.
Can I just come off the back of that real quick? Sorry, because I just wanted to add one more point to this. Like, it was just that as much as like you could say, the defense leaked a lot of goals and whatnot, I would say that a lot of that comes down to the manager. It's one of the biggest faults I had with this guy. The fact that he took the whole season to find a defensive pairing that was, adequate enough to play in the Premier League. Like, he just kept on chopping and changing. And like, I don't know any manager that chops and changes their center back pairing as much as he did. Granted, we didn't have a solid pairing all year. I don't think that we've had one that was just like lights out, that makes themselves easily to pick week in, week out. But at the same time, he's just got to settle on somebody.
Right, but and Couch, he can't play Thiago every week too, right? So there are some weeks where he was going to have to try to play somebody. And let's be honest, Chalobah didn't get back till what, January? I mean, he was out almost all year. So like, I think had you seen him with the team all season, obviously I think the goal differential looks a little different from at least early on in the season. But yeah, I mean, I get it. I think also some of the things, the way football is played, there are going to be times when you're playing high up the field and you're trying to attack and you're trying to play offensive football that you're going to leak goals. The idea is to score 4 or 5, right? I mean, which is hopefully what we do when we get an Osimhen and Cuckoo's healthy. You're scoring 4 or 5 a game, and then if you leak 2, it's not as big a deal. Obviously, everybody would love clean sheets and to stomp out teams every week, but in football there's good quality players in the Premier League. Sometimes you're going to give up goals, but I think the idea is to score more than you give up, and that's what we're hopefully looking to do next season. So
well, Abdullah, big up to you. Thank you for the donation as always, bro. Appreciate it. He says Gusto is too cold for him, but he puts Petrovic in as Bozo, which is quite interesting. I don't know, I disagree with that one, but big up to you. What's your thoughts, Abdullah, on Sanchez? Just out of interest, I want to know what your thoughts are on that. Ads, what we saying?
Thiago I'm Silva. I'm sort of left with the breadcrumbs here because you lot touched on a lot of really good points. But if it's something I can actually add to a bit was the talk on like the consistency of our back pairing line, like the selection choices that Poch made in the back two, especially. And obviously how much it changed throughout the season, and a lot of that, of course, is down to the manager, which again we normally prefer. Everybody prefers a natural set back two that can really be the bedrock of the defense. And obviously it chopped and changed a lot of that. Down to injuries, we have to admit. Also down to form as well.
So would Poch, by the way. So would Poch. He would prefer to have 2 consistent center backs every week. I just want. I don't know if people think he doesn't care about that. Obviously, he would like to have 2 consistent guys. Yeah,
for sure. And this is actually where I'm actually backing the manager in the sense that like I feel for him that because he has so many injuries of it was injuries that left back, which meant that you have to put Colwill to play left back. So these kind of things that you have to do throughout the season, like you have to feel for the manager in that sense. But why this ties back into Thiago Silva is that of all of our centre backs, he was the one that played the most minutes, was the most consistent performance wise, and had the best injury record. And again, that just speaks to his professionalism, the way he carries himself as a footballer, and his prestige in the game. Again, this is an all-time legend of the sport. And it was such a pleasure to watch him on a consistent basis for Chelsea, the fact that he came to us and the fact that he actually accomplished big things here because he had something left on the table that he hadn't won, which is the Champions League. And he had played for AC Milan, he had played for a good PSG side, but never won it. And to come here and win it is always going to tie him to the club and tie the club to him. So again, it was great that he could do that. And for me, even in his worst season, he was still our best centre back. And I don't really want to bury the lead here, but I feel like he's our only centre back that can be put in average, at least of the ones that started the season fit. So again, it wasn't his best season. We saw him look more human, make a lot more mistakes, have bozo moments, you can say, quote unquote. But at the same time, he still had a level of like quality to his play, more composure on the ball, helping us to play out the back. At times a bit too slow, admittedly, but still having more composure on the ball, composure in his defending, could actually lead the back line, tell others what to do, control the back line at times. So for me, so I'd put him in average. Again, I think he's probably still got the most goals of the back line as well. So that has to be taken into account. So yeah, I'd put him in average. Which again is probably his worst season. But again, the fact that he's having his worst season at 39 and still being a good enough starter in the Premier League team, like you have to give him his props, and it just speaks to the legend of the man. And I'd like to see him back one day. It'd be cool to even see his kids maybe grow up and be good enough to play for Chelsea as well. But Bella Silva, the less of her, the better, honestly. She needs to get off 12.
Yeah. Let's move. Levi Colwill, guys. It's a tough one because he was forced to play in a position that he's naturally not comfortable in. And Pochettino was called out about it in an interview before a game. I remember they asked him, how comes you utilise Colwill in left back position? He said because he's a highly talented, versatile individual who he thinks can play not only in a central role, but off the left as well, which I thought was just abysmal, to be quite honest with you, how he even got to that, to my opinion. But Colwill has played.
I wonder if they asked Pep why he played Vardy as left back all season. I wonder if he got that same question every week. But
interesting. But
assessment.
Josh, you're too funny. I swear. But at the end of the day, the truth is, guys, watching Colwill play in that position as a left back, did he look comfortable most of the season?
No.
I don't think so.
He
Let's be
also didn't
serious.
look comfortable at center back, to be honest.
He did. Yeah. I mean, yes and no. I think we haven't seen enough of him in that centre back role this season, in my opinion. I think he's been shifted into the left because of the lack of options we had. We had Cucurella and Chilwell out at the same time, unavailable. We had a healthy and fit Maatsen on the bench that could have maybe played in there, which means Cole could have been available to play as a centre back. But guess what? This manager didn't trust him. So it is what it is. But you know, I'm going to say poor. And then it's hard. It's harsh because he's playing out of position. But there was too many games where he lost his like his attitude sometimes was just a bit bad on the pitch. I remember the Tottenham away game, even though we won 4-1, but he was just always like as soon as there was a hard tackle or something was going on. I like all the passion and stuff, but he tend to always just push the boundaries a bit too much for me. And I don't know whether it was just because of frustration in how he was playing, how we were playing over that period, but he just never looked comfortable there. He never really, in my opinion, understood the role. He was getting beaten comfortably one-on-ones. He wasn't able to get up the pitch and support because it's not his natural thing to overlap or even support. So he stayed back, but he got targeted. And I remember one of the games, I can't remember who it was, one of the opposition managers said, he said straight up.
Yeah, Michael Carrick.
Michael Carrick. He said, Middlesbrough, yeah, they said Colwill's playing. Let's target him. And they scored from that side. If you remember at home, that was where it was leaked. They tacked down that wing, got the ball over the top of him, and he got done. And it become a weakness for us, and it was a problem. And I don't want to criticize him to beat him down too much because I think in the future there is potential in him potentially, which we need to see. But we're not going to see that if he's being played in a left back role, and we have to look for a left back. We can't rely on the two we got. Still, in my opinion, by the way.
Yeah,
but we're going to get to that later.
Yeah.
Go on.
I wouldn't say poor. I would say average, much like everybody else. He was asked to play out of position, and for the most part, I think that he was struggling with finding the spacing, struggling with gap control between him and his attacker. Like I thought that sometimes he got too close, and sometimes he was a little bit too far off. So the gap control was horrible for most of the season. But that's not the only thing that he was asked to do in our setup. He's very good at playing out from the back, very good with the ball to feet, very good at distribution. So, I thought in those aspects, we saw the strengths of his game come to the fore, like breaking lines with his passing and whatnot. And we could still use that, like whether or not he's playing left back or center back. I thought that his distribution was excellent. So I would have put him in average myself, but
I think I just looked at it from a defensive standpoint more than the actual, because it was, and you're right, there was some very good ball playing out from him. He's comfortable on the ball once he's got the ball at his feet and stuff. And what I like about him is that little ball over the top that he does, that little inverted ball over the top that I don't see any others able to do. And that's quite effective, The
other thing that worries me about him too is his aerial presence. I don't think that he's very good in the air.
Okay.
But I can say that about a lot of our defenders, actually, to be honest. Yeah. But him, for whatever reason, like every time we got in his set piece situations, his aerial presence was just non-existent, and that is worrying for me going forward. But young guy, he's got a lot to learn, and maybe when we see him in a more consistent role, in his more preferred role, we'll see a better Colwill overall. But for me, he's just average.
So we've got poor, we've got average. Josh, what are you saying? Colwill.
I mean, I would probably lean with Couch more on this one in the average standpoint. I mean, him playing at left back, I put almost zero credence into. I mean, if he wanted to play, that's where he was going to play early in the season. We just didn't have any left back options. People will say Maatsen. Listen, you guys can talk about. I'm probably not the guy to talk about Maatsen with. I think defensively, he's probably an atrocious left back, if I had to guess, which is why he didn't play left back. So to me, to judge Colwill, I do think the things Couch said, you could see early on, he is good with the ball at his feet. He can pass the ball. I think obviously when the team is more healthy, he'll get more natural looks at center back, but not enough really there for me to watch or to have a huge opinion on him this year. Other than I did like some of the stuff I saw in moments. I certainly think all the smoke about him in the summer, you could see flashes of why people were talking about him the way they did. But yeah, for me, I need to see him more healthy and more in a more consistent position for me to really have a strong opinion on him. So I think average is probably fair.
Average is probably fair. Okay, cool. Ads, what are you saying about Colwill? Do you agree with their analysis on it? Do you think it was more average than poor from my side, sort of thing? Or...
I hear and understand most of the points taken. Well, other than the fact that Maatsen's a horrible defender, I disagree with that. But maybe we'll get to that if we assess.
He is, by the way, even in Germany, he's shown that he's not a good defender. But okay, go ahead.
Jim, are we going to rank Maatsen's season, or are we going to?
He's in there, by the way.
Since he didn't.
He's in there. Okay, we'll talk on it when we get to Maatsen, and that's fine. For me, just on Colwill, I think Levi had a poor season, if I'm honest. I'd side a bit more with you, Jem, and it's a tough one. Like if we're ranking these guys in terms of like from the in their sections, but then also from left to right, like I think we can rank them in terms of who's actually in their section. So like in above average, I would have Gusto on the left of Petrovic, being like from left is like the best guys in above average, you know. So like in poor, I would have Colwill above Sanchez, because I feel like with Levi, it's a tough one because there were obviously some really good moments. Again, Couch brings up the point about his playing out from the back. Again, his passing range is very. I wouldn't even say it's underrated. I think people know how good his passing range is. And I think he had one of the best assists of the season when he played the ball to Modric when he scored against Fulham. Like stuff like that he was doing. Again, very few of our defenders are able to pass like that. So I like rate Colwill so highly that for me it is a poor season because again we're saying Silva had an average season based on his level. I'm saying for Colwill's level and what he was doing in the minutes that he got at Brighton, he was looking like one of the best young centre backs in the league. And for me, it's a poor season because like his stocks have gone down, and a large part of that is because of the manager and how he was utilised, and of course injuries and these things affect it too. But when I look at Levi, I just felt like defensively, again, like Couch mentioned, aerially he was struggling, and a lot of that was at left back. But again, because you're playing left back doesn't mean you should struggle aerially. You should do well, and then you should do better because you're going up against. You're not like you can see more of the game. You can assess your position a bit better, and you can like defend back post crosses a bit better. But he was struggling in that dimension. And then I look at other things defensively where he wasn't the greatest. He wasn't as strong. He wasn't getting blocks in at times. I remember when he did play centre back against Everton, it was quite a poor game. So there was a mixed bag because there were some good games at centre back, like when he played against Man City at the Etihad. Even though he lost Haaland a couple of times, it was still a pretty good defensive performance. So I just feel like because it was such a mixed bag for a player that I rate so highly, I would have to put him in poor. And I would say he's high in terms of the poor list. I would put him above Sanchez, so to the left of Sanchez in this tier-making list. But still, for me, a poor season for Levi because I have such high expectations for the player.
I hear that, and I think it's good. It's left 2 for poor and 2 for average. So we're kind
of
your
show, Jen. It's your show.
Okay, in that case, poor.
Listen, I get it. Like, if you want to judge him off of his left back performances, poor is probably fine. I don't think he's a left back. I think Poch knows he's not a left back. He was playing left back out of necessity. So if I'm looking at his overall totality of the season, he was as versatile as when the team needed him. Like I said, you saw a couple of bright performances in big games at center back. So, I mean, to I say average just because I don't think I saw enough of him in his position to really judge him.
Okay.
What I would say, just to lastly add on that, is like if he had a poor season in centre back, then I would be super concerned. But for me, like it's not as big a concern because if he played a whole season in centre back, I think at least it would be an average for me. So hopefully we see more of that next season.
Axel Disasi. I'm laughing already because it's getting interesting now.
Well, because he is an interesting player. He's an interesting player.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is the thing. I actually thought he had a good period. It's not like I've not seen a good period of Disasi. I actually thought he showed a bit of like leadership qualities. He was, defend that Man City game away. He was colossal. To be quite honest with you, he was very good. But then I think to myself about the whole season, and it is the whole season that we're looking at. It's not just a small period or 1 or 2 games. And then I think about some of the shocking defending, like the Arsenal away game with Badiashile, where he was just basically a mannequin, to be quite honest with you. And then I think of the Newcastle game away, and it was awful. And then I think of the Everton game away, and how bad he was, and it was awful. And then I'm like, well, he could have been average, but he's pulling to poor. But at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, I want us to buy a defender because we know Thiago Silva's going and stuff. So now I'm thinking to myself, I don't think we're going to sell him, by the way, because we just bought him. Now I'm thinking to myself, should he be in that bozo sell area, or do we keep him in poor just because we've seen a part of his game where it's a part of the season where he's actually performed quite well, but still, again, the majority just not good enough for me. So I want to stick to poor on Disasi on this one. But I think there's some good qualities in him. I think he is good with the ball at his feet. I think he is aggressive. I think he's good from corners. Like, he seems to be very active in the box. However, he's reading the game sometimes, and he's receiving the ball from the back and then playing the ball quickly. I've got to just do that quick pass, and then us losing the ball because he's just done a 60-yard pass on the floor, which wasn't needed. But I'm assuming, again, is that tactics? Is that Poch? Is that them being asked to do that and not being successful? It's happened so much, and it irritated me in many parts of watching him, because I'm like, you're playing the ball out well too quick into dangerous areas, and we're losing the ball when we've not even started building up the play. But then I'm thinking to myself, is that Poch? So I'm stuck when it comes to Disasi, because I think he's been poor overall, but at the same time, I think we've seen good parts of him. So what is it? Is it tactics again with him that's been why he's been majorly poor? Because he's played a lot of games this season for Chelsea. When you look at his stats at the club, he's done. Let's have a quick look. When you look at his stats at the club, he's played a lot more than a lot of our other defenders. He's played 31 games in the Premier League. He's only missed 7 games of the Premier League. He's played 7 in the EFL Cup. He's played the majority of our games. So if we're talking about the overall season, I'm going to stick to poor for me.
Yeah, a lot of that was well, if you're putting Colwill in poor, then I would think you'd have to put Disasi in poor as well. And that mainly comes down to he's played a lot out of position. Like, he's played right back a lot too, right? And clearly he's not a right back in this Premier League. You cannot play him at right back. He's just not quick enough. His decision making is not good enough to play out there. It's very similar to how we view Colwill at left back. So I don't know. He's had some really, really commanding performances for us. I'm talking about aerials won. I'm talking about, clearances. I'm talking about just duels won. He's been good at times, so much so that we were saying that he might be that defender that, could be our commanding leader in the back. Like, we've all said that at some point this season. He hasn't been consistent enough to maintain that form. We might have jumped the gun at anointing him the next one. But, for a first season in the Premier League, I don't think that he's been awful. I wouldn't say poor. I would have just said average. He's been asked to do a lot. But again, it's the same way I look at Colwill. He's been asked to do a lot in a position where he's uncomfortable.
But he's not played it as much as Colwill, though, is he? You can't. It's not like he's sat here and played right back.
He's played slightly less. He's played slightly less right back than Colwill played left back. But I get the point either way from
it's the same thing. It's a lot to ask for a guy coming into the Premier League for the first time to play right back in a league that is blazing quick like this one. And I don't know. For me, I would have put him in average, much like I would have put Colwill in average. But I'm not gonna tell you where to put him.
Go on then, Josh. What you saying?
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. I echo a lot of those because I like him a lot. I like the player a lot. And he's had times this year where I've watched him and I've thought all the same things you guys have talked about. Wow, there's a beast in there. He plays good aggressive D. He's quick. And then he's had times where I watch him and I'm like, okay, this is a young center back. He's making young center back errors, but then he's 25, almost 26. So not young age-wise, but he is fairly young from a professional standpoint. I think the way he played like maybe a season at Monaco as a starter, and then now he's at Chelsea.
Young in the
I think
league.
that-
Young in the league.
Young in the league. Yeah, that's what I mean. Young from a professional standpoint, not necessarily like young from an age standpoint, like some of our other guys, you could say.
Yeah.
But he does some really good things. He is a little not slow on the ball, but sloppy on the ball. He doesn't necessarily pass with the pace that I would prefer my center back get the ball off his feet with. But I don't really know if he has to be that guy in the back line. You know, obviously you'd like to play him with a guy like Colwill who could do the passing portion of the game. But I would say probably average for me. If I had to judge his whole season, his first real season in England, I think he was average. He certainly had poor moments. So I get what you're saying, Jem. And probably more recently poor moments. So that's what stuck in your head. Like a lot of his good stuff he did was early, middle portion of the year. The poor stuff seemed to be more towards the end of the season. So that might be what's like more fresh in your mind. But I would say average season with some poor moments for me.
Adds Disasi. What are we saying? Is he for average? Is he poor? We've got 2 averages at the moment.
Yeah, Disasi is a very interesting one because if you were to do like a scatter graph of his performances this season, like he would have maybe more like in the elite, in like the cold like category in terms of like really top level performances, maybe more than some of our other centre backs. But then he would also have an equal to maybe more amount in the bozo category because there was some awful moments from this player, and I think I judge him a bit more harshly because yes, he was brought in pretty much as like a bit of an emergency signing to cover for Fofana's season-long injury. But he's experienced. You have to remember he's still experienced, at least in terms of age, right? Like obviously Josh's point about him not having that many, like he's not got like 200, 300 senior level appearances, which is true. But still, compared to Colwill, Buddy Shill, Gilchrist, like come on, he's got way more experience than these guys. So, and he was trying to be the leader at times, and he certainly had periods where he was looking like he could be that guy. So I'll give him credit for those times because again, it's similar to even to a bit to like Sanchez, because before Sanchez lost his way and then got injured, Sanchez had some. I think so, he had 1 month where he was voted in the team of the month, which again isn't a major prize, but it just shows that Sanchez had some good moments, and Axel had a lot more good moments over the season, but just a lot of poor moments, man. And I think for me, certainly there's some recency bias that counts against him, but I think it has to count against him because you're meant to be sort of the experienced guy in the team, one of the more experienced guys in the team. And really, you should have locked down a position. By the end of the season, when we're going on that best run of form for the season, you should have been one of the mainstays, absolutely. And for me, you weren't, and that has to count against you because most of your season was played at centre-back. Yes, Couch is right, he played quite a few minutes at right-back, but the percentage of games he played at right-back was probably like maybe 20%, whereas for Colwill, he played maybe, let's say, 80% of his games as a left-back. So I have to judge him on the 80% of games that he played pretty much as a centre back this season. And for me, while there was some very good games in there, for me, I have to say poor, especially for how much we signed him for, his experience. I will put him above Sanchez on this list, I'll probably have him behind Colwill. It's close, but for me, it's poor, and it's poor mainly because right now I'm looking at it. I would sell him if I had the choice. I would sell him. It's only 1 season, but we did do it with Koulibaly. So I would sell him and look to get somebody else because ultimately he's going to just be a squad player here. He's not going to cement a first team position. And we have young players who have higher ceiling than him to be squad players. So I'm not really too convinced by him, even though we've had some really good moments this season.
I hear you. AJ, welcome. Good to see you. We are highlighting the goalkeepers in defence today. Guys, remember, midfield will be tomorrow, forwards will be Thursday, and Friday we've got the big manager talk. Now, if there's any news that breaks in and around the manager himself in regards to the board, whether he stays, whether he goes, that may switch. We'll have to see. There's been talks that there might be something going on in some crucial times in the next 24 or 48 hours. So we'll wait and see if that's the case. But AJ, Disasi's performance over the overall season, poor, average. How you feeling about it?
Big up the panel, big up the chat. Disasi, first of all, you guys basically said everything, but I do think for him, I wish there was a tier between average and poor. Because I do think that, first of all, we brought him in, like somebody said, he wasn't really, part of the squad planning. He was more of like an emergency type of signing. So anytime it's those type of players, I always judge them with that view. But regarding the season, he did have some strong moments, but he did have a lot of below average. That's what I'm gonna say. Yeah. So he had a couple of bozo. I think all of our defenders actually had bozo moments this year, even Thiago Silva. So I'm not against saying it, but I do think that regarding the tiers we have here, I guess poor makes sense because he did make a lot of mistakes. I hate, you know what I hated? I hated all I hate the celebrating of every little tackle. And then there was one time he made a mistake.
That's the coldest photos of the season for sure.
Yeah, he made a mistake and then celebrated his own.
He made the mistake. Yeah, he did. He did.
Shame. Like, you made the mistake, but like I'll put it. I wish there was below average, but I'll put him in poor. I do think again, he was a squad option. He's not really my favorite center back at the team. I don't hate him, you know. I think he can still do a job. You know, these players are still, he's young. We say that he's a little experienced, and I get it, but you know, at center back, you know, you don't really see the best of a center back till he's like late 20s, you know, early 30s. That's when you see them really cook, you know. So he's
like Ads did say, he's one of the most experienced.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, so you should be showing that.
Would you guys say though the kinds of mistakes he makes, you know, like crispness of a pass, the speed of moving the ball, like those are things he can improve on.
Yes.
Over a summer, over a year of knowing now, like, hey, when I pass the ball to Caicedo or to Gallagher or to Enzo, that thing's got to have some pace on it. I can't just lay it to him. There's going to be someone on his ass instantly. Like,
because he's actually pretty good on the ball. He's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I agree.
Those are things I think he can. The mistakes he's making are things I think are improvable on as a player. They're not things that are like, okay, he's just lost. He doesn't read the game well. He doesn't know where to be. He's losing his man. He just can't. He's not passing anywhere where he should be. Like, it's just those aren't the things he's doing. He's doing things that can be worked on and be improved with time and more experience, I guess. But
and one thing I'll say about this is, remember, this is his first year in the Premier League. Even Thiago Silva recently said in his goodbye message that he made a mistake the first game that he played, and he realized that the Premier League is way different from every other league, and he realized that he had to step it up. So
I think adaptability is fair. Like we always say, when we sign a player, we should always give him 1 season at least just to adapt. I don't know. It's a tough one because I still think we need a defender. And obviously Silva's going. Looks like Chalobah could be up for blimmin' 25 million for Spurs or Fulham, which I'm going to write about if that's true.
Jonathan Tah seems to be a name that gets tossed around a lot. And I think that's the kind of guy they'll look to bring in. A guy who's like 27, experienced, big, tall guy, can sort of like, he's not old, but he's experienced and good on the ball. If we were to bring in like a Jonathan Tah, I think that would be like a perfect replacement signing for a Thiago Silva. And then if they want to bring in another center back at that point, they have to let somebody go. Like that, they'd have to sell. I don't know that. Go ahead.
I hear you. I agree. And we're going to keep moving because we've got a couple more to go as well. Cucurella, guys. Too cold, man. He's so cold, man.
We talking about the last 3 weeks or the first?
He's sort of the opposite of Disasi to me. He, like, early in the year, you could throw him in Bozo. He was terrible. But the last maybe 3 months, he's been one of our best players. So it's really hard to say.
Problem. When you balance it like that, it's, what do I think? I think he was very crap at the beginning. He went through that major injury that he had that put him out for, was it like to think 2 months, 3 months?
Yeah,
at least?
About 6 to 8 weeks, probably.
Yeah, he was out for, and then he came back. I wouldn't say he came back and then took off, and we was like, oh my god. I thought he was better than Colwill. I'm going to say that. I think having Colwill through that period and then Cucurella coming back in, it just felt a bit better. I'm not going to say tons better, but it felt a bit better. And then obviously the big change came later in the season when he started playing more of that inverted role. Now, let's talk about the positives of this guy, because there are some positives in him. One of the big positives for me with Cucurella is his aggressiveness off the ball. Like, sometimes he will just, especially from the midfield point, like he's judging his tackles very well. He's covering the spaces better. he's doing quite well in that midfield area, and it seems like that inverted role's grown on him, and he seems to like it. But then he goes back into that left back role, and I've seen him perform better there. I think he has performed better there, but he still has this like tendency to just worry me when wingers that are quick and direct are attacking him, because he stands off them. It gives them too much.
That's the off the ball aggression that you love so much, Jim. That's where it hurts.
Yeah, but he kind of doesn't have it. He doesn't have that aggression sometimes when he should have that aggression. If that makes sense.
Sure.
Like,
Right,
go for it. Like, go for it there. Why are you giving him so much space to get you to the box, cut inside or go? Like, I get you're trying to, but it's different, because like when Gusto does it, he does it where there's like not a big space or gap between him and the player, and he kind of like shimmies and runs with him. Do you know what I mean? And then bullies him off the ball with his like shields the ball off for a goal kick or whatever. Like, Cucurella don't do that. He gives them like too much space to like either take a cross in. Like, he does things that I just think like, what are you doing? And overall, when his performance, it's like I think he's been really bad in parts. I also think he's actually been pretty good. So I'm going to stick him in. Because he was bozo at the beginning, but then it's either
average.
It's average or poor for me, but I'm going to say average, just because I think he's kicked on as of recent, and he's like, even though he still has them little
Recency bias is massive with you guys, eh?
It's hard because I don't.
It's
So
consistent.
let him go. Let him dig his grave on this one, though.
Look. I said it could be poor. I didn't say it shouldn't be poor. I said it could be one. If you all agreed poor, I'd go, okay, fine. Like, I agree. Maybe it's recency bias. Maybe it's because I've seen such bad performances off the left that even the other one that comes back, who's meant to be our best, is not. He's just not that good. It's actually worse than him.
But he's added.
Now I'm judging it against what we got, and the other one, who we're going to talk about, wasn't even used and got loaned out. So,
it's fine, Jim. Stand on it. Just say average and stand on it.
He's also added, though. He's added an extra weapon. You know, him being able to step into the midfield. Gusto isn't stepping into the midfield. Choa isn't stepping in. So you got to give these guys credit for the actual characteristics that they provide in the team. I know it's been recently, like Couch said, you know, because we've all been frying Cucurella this whole season in the group chat. You know, we saying, oh, this guy.
Look at Don, above average.
Whoa.
Get in here, Don.
Don been frying Cucurella too. So, you know, him saying that is kind of crazy.
Above average is wild.
Above is a little bit too much. I think average is good, man.
Okay, so AJ says average. Couch, what we saying? Come on, you're gonna counterfix it. I feel it.
He hasn't played enough this season to really give him a full season grade, like, because he's injured for most of it, right? Let's be real.
Oh, you're wild, Couch. That's wild. He's not injured for most of it.
He went that way.
What? He had like 2 or 3 months that he's out, wasn't he?
No, we'll have a look.
Yeah, 2 or 3. Yeah, that's right. 2 or 3 months. That's not enough to judge him, though.
2, right? Wasn't it
in the middle of the
months?
season? Yeah.
I thought it was 3 months, man. To be honest,
Stop hiding, Couch. Stop dodging it.
Honestly, I think some of his injury was over the winter break too. So there's a week or so there.
He played 26. He played 26 games overall. 21 in the Premier League, 3 in the EFL Cup, 2 in the FA Cup.
That's enough to judge.
I mean,
that's enough to judge. That's enough to judge.
Yeah,
I
think someone else had 30 games, and we're judging on 30. We can judge on 26 or whatever.
I agree with that.
I mean, I don't know. He seems to always get yellow cards. He seems to not overlap well. Doesn't really provide much in the final third. Gets beat when he's pressed up the pitch. Like, he's poor to me. I'm going to be real. Like, I think he's poor to average. Poor to average. Went in there. He's definitely kicked on this season. Like, he's gotten better as the season wore on. He's definitely found a role, or Poch has found a role for him that is, you know, complemented him well, like the inverted fullback role. He's done well there. But, you know, if what you want from a fullback is somebody that can get up and down the pitch, overlap, swinging crosses, you know, get touch tight to his men and win duels, you know, sure, he can win the duels and whatnot, but like, I just don't like his gap control either. I think that guy often makes gaffes when he's trying to, you know, close down his men. And like, I don't know if it was tactical, but I know we spoke on it a couple of games ago where he's just so narrow all the time. He gives so much, the wide players so much time and space on the ball. Yeah, it's so much so that I thought that like it was him just being deployed that way. Like he's just so close to our center back, our left center back, and yeah, I don't know. Like I'm not really a fan of Cucurella overall. Like I think that we certainly overpaid for him, but given the fact that he was able to find a tactical role and find himself, useful in that role, I guess you can put him in average. But yeah, it's definitely if there was a spot in between average and poor, he would be there for me 100%.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I would. I'll just be quick. I'm going to hedge what I say with him. I'll put him in average for his season because I think what he's done the last 3 months or so has been pretty. It's really helped the team at least solidify a bit. I still want him and Chilwell and Maatsen. I want all three of them sold in the summer. So that his finish of the season has nothing to do with my opinion of him going into next season. I still want him sold. I think we can improve on that position. Offensively, like what Couch is saying is 100% true. We are dead in the water going forward on the left side with him playing. A lot of people will talk about Mudryk. Like Mudryk can't do everything by himself. He does help wingers when they have an overlapper or somebody who can pull defenders with them. He just doesn't offer that ability whatsoever. So for me, when I'm looking at left back, I do want us to have a guy who can do that a bit more, but also still has some defensive stability. It's for me average for the season, but for sure still sell this summer.
So how many pours and averages have we got here? I said average.
I think they're all average so far, Jim. Everyone's average so far, except looking
at our defensive numbers, it makes sense though.
No doubt, no doubt.
I think Ads is going to be sell, but let's hear it.
No, he done enough to get out of Bozo for me because he would have been in Bozo. But listen, I think the sun's been getting to people's heads and making people think it's been a 3-month season. It's been way longer than that. Like I'm sorry. Like again, I don't know if that's the real Don in the chat, Don CFC saying that only Anthony cooked him. More than just Anthony cooked him this season. But again, the fact that you can say Anthony cooked him,
that's a fireable offense alone.
Quite literally, bro. Anthony, but that's on your resume. Anthony cooked you, bro. Like that's crazy. So again, listen. He's done well the last few months, and again, part of it is on the manager because the manager didn't use him as well as he could have in the season. Because I was the one saying that, listen, this guy was linked to Man City. Pep would have used him in a Zinchenko role, and why we weren't doing that for most of the season didn't make sense to me because this guy isn't a very good natural left back. He doesn't overlap that amazingly. He doesn't defend well in 1v1s. Again, Jem, you make the point very well that in 1v1s, he's quite passive. He leaves a lot of space, again, like how you're saying as well. He will defend narrow and give the winger so much space, which isn't good. Where he is good is where he is in close proximity to the play, which is obviously why he suits playing inverted. Like against, again, we know that he plays very good when he's like up against a winger and he can be like aggressive and get to them before they have the ability to turn when they're playing back to goal. If you remember when Saka played against us at the Bridge and Cucurella for 60 minutes pocketed him because, Saka has to play back to goal a bit, receiving and trying to use his body to get round fullbacks, but Cucurella was always just hitting him, which he's good at. So those things like that, I will give him credit for. But again, for us spending 62 million on this guy and for the wages that he's on, most of us want to sell this guy. And yes, he might have turned it a bit around at the end of the season, and that's why I'm not going to put him in Bozo because he had a good end to the season, and that was a really good chunk of the season that ended up putting us in a pretty decent finishing position. So I'll give him credit for that.
Also, important to know, he wasn't bought for this system, right? He was bought for if I'm not mistaken, Tuchel, right? And Tuchel was playing with wing backs, so that's an important adage.
He's not even a wing back, is he?
Well, I think that would have been even worse, to be honest.
He would have definitely been worse. I mean, maybe he'd be best as a third centre back for sure. But listen, in this inverted role, there is potentially a future for him. For me, I think there potentially could be a future for him. But as a starting left back, am I convinced by this guy? No. I feel like there were so much parts of the season earlier on where he was getting beat too easy. He was having poor games at left back, some poor games at right back. Although again, you can see he's not a natural right back. Fair enough. But again, for me, he's at the top of four. Like, okay, my OCD is kind of kicking in here. So Gusto needs to be on the left of Pochettino because he's been by far our best of anybody in this category. So
why is he not in too cold?
I would have put him in too cold, to be honest, but everybody said already. I came in late and everybody said average. So I thought, above average, fair enough, right?
I put him in too cold.
Otherwise, we suck.
We do suck defensively. That much is obvious.
But let's move.
Somebody
Let's
gotta
move.
be good.
But wait. But for me, I'm saying Cucurella needs to be at the top of poor, and okay, Gusto needs to be at the top of above average. He needs to be on the left of Petrovic, because even Petrovic and above average for me is a bit questionable. But
Ads is the only one. I'm not ranking that deep. Ads is ranking.
Oh no,
deep.
we need to. But again, I'm saying Cucurella should be in poor for me. Again, maybe I'm outvoted here, and if he's in average, fair enough. He's behind Silva, because again, you can make the case that if there's something between average and poor, maybe he would suit being in there. But yeah, for me, Cucurella, nah, man, I'm sorry. Yeah, behind Silva for sure. If he's going to be an average, then behind Silva, because I'll give him credit for the last few months. It's been pretty good, but come on, man. 62 million, and we all want to sell him. It's still not good enough.
Yeah.
But,
all right.
Do you think Pochettino has? Sorry, Jim. Just 1 second. Do you think Pochettino has used the guy properly? It's only not till the last month that he's figured out how to use Cucurella. Is that
true? That is true. But just that. So if I can just answer that, like, I agree. Like, certainly on the ball, he's going to be more effective there, because he's not going to be great at overlapping or taking on his man. He's not like Augusto in that sense, of course. But I still think defensively, like, the system can only protect you so much. You still have to defend as a left back. And again, even against Brighton, for as good as he was in that game, and he had some good interventions, some good blocks, some good tackles, when it comes to defending 1v1 against the winger or the fullback that's overlapping, he gives them just too much space, and you can't do that at this level. You just can't.
And AJ, I'll just say to the tactical thing that in my opinion, that tactical move to put him in the midfield is not a move to improve Cucurella. That's a move to unleash Caicedo. And I think that's been clear over the last 3 months. It gives Caicedo the ability to get forward a bit, to not have to worry about somebody getting in behind him, to have somebody there to play a ball with. And again, that's not a knock on anyone else. That's just that was a move, I think, to give Caicedo the ability to get forward.
I don't know why you're making it so hard for me.
But it ended. Couch muted.
Yes, of course.
Couch.
Yeah, Couch, you might need to mute, bro. You need to mute, Couch.
Okay, let's move from Cucurella, because we're going to be stuck forever. Otherwise, I can see it happening. The next one is going to cause a lot of.
No good, bro.
The next one's going to cause a lot of
couch first.
discussion. Badia Stile. Now, and Don's here as well, isn't he? Don, he's getting sold, mate. Look.
Uh-oh.
It's hard to rate him so much, because he's missed a large part of the season. I need to check how many games he's actually played, because I don't think he's played that much this season. So it's going to be hard. But then you have to base it on what you have seen and how he has played and how he's come in. And you've got to ignore kind of the excuse of, well, he's injured and he's just got back, partly because, all right, one game, I get that. But then, to go that Burnley home game where we drew 2-2, and it was him and Disasi, and the Arsenal game, and the one before that, was it Newcastle? I think we won that one, if I remember. Where I actually think he played okay. Was it him? Can't remember. But when I look at his overall performances this season, I don't think he's been good enough when coming back into the team. I've said countless of times what my problems are with Badia Stile. I don't think he reads the game very well. I feel he just feels like he's asleep, and he always needs someone of like a Silva caliber next to him to kind of like keep him in order, in my opinion. We've seen him next to Chalobah, and it looks okay, is what I would say so far. But that's in a short space of like 2 games. I think they played with each other near to the end of the season, but it's very hard to judge him because his awareness in the box is not good, in my opinion. He's ball. I think they all do it, by the way, when I say this, but he does it a lot as well. They ball watch ridiculously. Like their awareness of danger around them in the box is non-existent. It's just what's going on over there.
AJ, relax, man. What's going on?
What's it? So for me, look, when we talk about what we've seen of him in this small sample size of this season, has he come in and impressed me? No. Does he look like another one of them defenders that could come and take the role and say, this is my role, someone else needs to play next to me, I'm the man for Chelsea at the back? No. Do I think that he has leadership qualities? No. Do I also think that like I said, his awareness and reading of the game is good? I don't think so. However, has he got some positives? Yeah, I think he's good with the ball at his feet. I think we saw that in the second half of the Aston Villa game where I think he actually played better. I don't think he's the quickest, as many people say as well when I watch him. And I don't like with him, the one thing that I don't like about him the most isn't when he's got the ball and he makes the pass. It's when he receives the ball and he's only got a second or two or three to think about it. Because he just has this like bozo touch a little bit. And I'm just like, what is that? Like I remember the Man United game where Anthony got the ball on the right and he whipped it into Garnacho who headed. If you remember that they had a throw in and they threw it and he beat the striker to the ball and all he had to do was take a nice little touch with his left foot and it was the worst touch. It was like a Romelu Lukaku touch.
Yeah.
He lost control of that ball. He completely lost control of the ball. It nearly went into a tackle with the midfielder. I can't remember which, who then laid off Anthony off the right. And Anthony was off. He was all out of position. And it was all because he took a bad touch and they scored from it. And it's just like he has these moments. I remember the Wolves game away where. Or was it? Yeah, it was the Wolves game away where the ball comes into the box and he doesn't even clear it. He just passes it like on the floor in the box and he rolls it to someone to finish it. And we're 2-1 behind. And I'm like, 2-0 behind at that point because Nkunku scored later. I remember it was 2-0 behind. And I'm like, bozo moment. Like, and in the Arsenal game, well, I haven't got nothing to say about that because him and Disasi were just horrible together. I struggle to work out how he's going to suit a partnership with someone. And I think with him, to get the best out of him from what we've seen so far, it needs someone in the market that's experienced that can come in and sit next to him and take control of things at the back. He's not the guy to do that for me. Maybe Fofana could do that with him, potentially, because he might have that in him. But it's just whether we're going to see enough of Fofana. So if I'm looking at it for this season, I'm putting him in poor because I think he has been poor this season. Maybe even worse, but poor. Go on, Couch.
Yeah, you stole my thunder. I already said that. I already said this stuff. This is not anything new to me, what you just said. This is what I've been saying for a long time now, but apparently I'm biased because I don't like him or this, that, and the other. But I'm judging what I see. I don't have any bias for any Chelsea players. I don't have one that I hold in high esteem or anyone that I hold in low esteem. I just evaluate what I see. And for me, he's not good enough. He's just not good enough. Like he's had some good performances this year, but you can't tell me that the majority of his performances, the majority of the games that he's played so far haven't been poor. It's poor, and like, yeah, I'm of the opinion that all of our defenders are either average or poor standard. And the reason why I say that is because not one of them is a commanding presence back there. He's not a commanding presence in the air. He's not a commanding presence in the box. Like I always see him ball watching. The ball's coming to it. When you think about center backs, you think about like solutions. You're thinking about guys that solve problems. I don't think that he does that. He's okay with the ball, the feet and whatnot, but in terms of like his ability to snuff out danger, his ability to read danger and be the stopper in the back as a center back, he's not it for me. But with that said,
22 games this season, by the way, Couch, or 18 in the Premier League, 2 in the FA Cup.
Like I said, that's neither here nor there for me. Like I said, he's been more poor than he's been good this year, and there's no doubt about that. Nobody can tell me otherwise. He's been more poor than good. And when you look at him play, when you watch him play, you wonder if he has the ability to just be the boss back there. Because that's what we need. We need either somebody to be the boss out of the defenders that we have. And if I was going to say anything about any of the defenders, he'd be the last person I would look to be the boss back there. He'd be the last guy. Like without question, he would be the last guy. But like you said though, I think that if you put him next to a boss, it might suss out some of the problems that we have in his game. It might suss it out. But I just don't think that he's that guy for me. But he's in the team.
Josh, what are you saying?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be quick. I'll be quick on this one. You both basically said exactly what I would say. I think he is a talented but shaky defender who absolutely requires a veteran next to him. For whatever reason, it's just a mental key for him that he has somebody there who's going to have his back. So he plays with a bit more assertiveness in those games, and you can just see it when some of his worst games this year was when he played with Axel, and they've played together before. So. But when he does play with a veteran guy, you do see some of those strong on the ball attributes. He is terrible in the air. He just, for some reason, refuses to use his body and his height. He will get low and wait for the ball to come down for whatever reason, which I cannot stand. I think if we get the right veteran defender this summer, I think he could.
The guy
get
played.
better.
Sorry, Josh. Just because he pulled this up. The guy
Sure.
played 10 games last year, 10 games, 900 minutes, and not
And
all
next
of them
Thiago
were exceptional, and not all of them were great. So, like, I don't know what we're talking about here. Anyways, go on.
Yeah.
Oh, he
I
played it
didn't
for
see.
Thiago Silva as well.
I didn't
Exactly,
see
and he
any.
played the back three for most of those games as well.
Yeah, I didn't see any real big progression from last year to this year that would give me any like big flags that he's going to progress big time next year. But I do think if we get the right defender and they don't want to sell anybody, then he could be better next year just through having been around the team a bit now, and hopefully that comfortability level will help him. But I agree with what both you said. I think he just not there yet. Of the group, he would, like Couch said, of the group, he would be in the back of the group for me right now. So poor, you can put him in poor.
Yeah. Ads, bad you sure, man. What are we saying?
Yeah, no, I think this is quite a straightforward one. He's in poor. Not been a great season. And I think with him, obviously I was quite high on him when he first came in. He had a good season in terms of the games he played last season, although of course, like Couch said, it's a relatively small sample size. But this season, no, again, obviously there was quite a few injuries, but when he did come in, he struggled and had a lot of bad moments. And I think with him, the only thing I can give him any kind of allowance on is that a lot of times he would perform badly when he was first coming back into the team. And I feel like he's just maybe one of those kind of players who kind of struggles to get into match pace. Again, I think his injury was, I believe it was, I know something that affected his, I think it was hernia injury, which I believe obviously affects your movement. So he maybe was a little bit extra kind of stiff and not as mobile as he was last season. So I think that can affect things. But again, that's only a bit of a caveat that I can give him because, like you were mentioning earlier, Jem, the catalogue of mistakes is big. Like, you even didn't mention ones like Newcastle away where you had some really bad errors. Even Newcastle at home in the cup when we beat them in the penalty shootout. He literally gifted Callum Wilson a goal on a plate. So awful errors that he made, which absolutely have to put him in poor. But I think Josh is also right that this is a player with talent. Maybe win the right system with the right centre back next to him, he can actually be a good player for us potentially. And he's still relatively young, so there is room for improvement, but it's certainly a regression of what we saw last season.
We expect better, and it's not like I don't want Don sitting in here and he's probably like ripping his and say hair because he ain't got any hair. He ain't got any hair to rip out.
That was a shot.
Shield, our best defender. No.
I'll defend Don. He doesn't think that highly of Eddie, but
what?
I think
he called him our best defender, man. What are you talking about?
I mean, I'll let him clarify that in the comments. I mean, sure. I mean, Don, I think I rate Don.
Ask him who he thinks our best defender is. He'll tell you. But Alexander, does anyone else remember when we played back three under Potter, like closer to the end of the season there? Does anyone else remember?
Yeah, he was left center back.
I was at a home game against Villa where
Get your facts straight. Get your facts straight, son. Get your facts straight. Watch the game, Alexander. Go read a book.
Yes, sir.
Come on, man. What are you saying about
them? You hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. I think Jem might have froze.
I was about to say. Nah, first of all, I've been a big defender of Badia Shield. So I'm with Don in this. I think we view him similar. The only thing is there's a different Badia Shield this year compared to last year. But everybody forgets that Badia Shield missed preseason through injury. He had a hamstring injury. He missed portion of preseason and he missed a good amount of the first half of the season. So I think with that, it affects, your fitness, you being. He was already new to the league. He only, like you said, he only played 10 games. He did show a lot last year because it's not only us on this panel and in the chat that was rating Badia Shield. So clearly he has something about him. But I can be objective.
Did we lose Jem?
Yeah, it looks that way.
Yeah.
Looks like he's joining. There he is.
Okay.
I think Don interrupted my Wi-Fi.
Don shut it down. But there's clearly been a different Badia Shield this year compared to last year. So I do agree he's been poor because I do hold him a little bit higher compared to what I saw this season. But again, I'm not going to take away from the hamstring injuries. But also just I think he needs to work on his approach and mentality to the game. I think he needs to he has a little bit of like a lackadaisical style, you know, and that's a style. That's a style. You know, there's a lot of players that play like that.
Yeah, it's languid. It's a languid style.
Exactly. But I think that doesn't do him any favors. So I think that can influence people's view of him. But he did make a lot of mistakes this year. His positioning was off this year. He hasn't been, you know, as tough in the tackle. Aerially, he's not winning his challenges. And I do think that all stems from not being in the best physical shape. So I'll give him another chance. You know, I still think he's better than Disasi. You know, I haven't heard anybody really make any.
I agree.
I think he's better than Disasi. So if we're willing to keep Disasi, we definitely keep him body a shield. You know.
Okay.
That's really poor. Is good though. Poor.
Right, I'm going to Trevoh Chalobah and I'm going cold, man. On it.
My God.
Listen. You're all going to think I'm jumping the gun right here. But at the end of the day, when a guy has come in a short space of time and played, 13 games in the Premier League out of 38, and played to the level that he has, to come in when we were in such a bad place as well, defensively, leaking goals, a lot of goals as well. Him and Silva had that nice little partnership for 2 games, and then Pochettino decided to give him a rest against Arsenal because that was the perfect game to do it against. You know, it made a lot of sense putting Badiashile and Disasi on. You could see clearly. And the one thing I would say about Chalobah this season is you're seeing more of an experienced individual. Yes, he's been out of injuries. And when he has come in, the difference between him and Badiashile, for example, is he's took his chance and he's shown his qualities and he's turned up and he's played and he's also shown versatility to be able to play on the right, which I don't think is his best position, but he still can do it. He can do it better than probably most of our centre-backs that could be asked to be played in that role. He also played very well in the centre-back role. I like the way he carries the ball. I like the way he passes the ball out. I like the way how he aerially wins the ball. But what's impressed me the most of him compared from last season that I think he's got better at is his timing in challenges. When he's on his own and he's having to deal with someone on the left, if someone's running at him, he stands off, and he usually 9 times out of 10 follows them around with his pace and he wins the tackle. And he's doing that more consistently. And he smells danger. I like that about him as well. I can't say that for other defenders. I feel like he does. I feel like he knows and sniffs. He has a bit of a sniff when it comes to danger as well. And listen, I'm not saying he's the fully complete Chalobah, and there's still rooms for improvement even for him. But when you look at the short space of what he's done and how he's performed in this short space, from a player that was going to be sold in the summer to then coming back in again and fighting for his position to show, look, I am here. Like, I can play for this club again, like he did under Potter, like he did under Tuchel, and now he's doing under Pochettino. I think you can only take your hat off to him, to be quite honest with you. To just be, in a way, thrown aside, which he has been in most parts, because we bought defenders and kind of just gone, yeah, you sit there, mate. Even before his injury, it must have been hard for him as a young lad to have to deal with that. And he's come in and he's took his chances and he's shown it. And I like his passion. After games, he'll come on Twitter and he'll go, my fucking club, like that kind of stuff. And I like all that. And he's a Cobham boy, at the end of the day, I don't want to see him gone. I don't want to see him gone. He's one that I do not want to be sold. Full stop. Not on what I can see what we have currently at the back at the moment. There's no one in the back 4 that deserves to, that makes me go, right, Chalobah, we can sell you because we've got A and B and C. He doesn't, because we don't. So for me, too cold, man. People will go, nah, it's too much, but maybe it's just me. I am a Chalobah. But
are you standing on that, Jim?
Yeah, Gusto's not too cold. Chalo can't be too
on
cold.
that.
I agree with everything else.
The other defenders that we've seen in a short space of time.
He played 10 games in the Prem this year.
Okay.
And
it's
then
okay.
3
I'll
in the FA
throw a
Cup.
bucket of water on Cameron.
Let's
No,
just
she's
relax, man.
13. That's nearly half. No,
Come
it's
on,
not.
dude.
What?
Nearly half. What?
Come on, dude.
Oh, Jim.
Go ahead,
Listen,
Cass.
I don't know.
Go ahead, Cass. I've been waiting for this one to come up, so go ahead, Cass. What do you got?
Yeah, no, I don't have much to say. I think he's been really good in the games that he's played. Like, really, really good. Like, surprised me. Because the problems I always had with Chalobah wasn't so much about his ability. It was just his head. Like sometimes he just makes crucial errors at the wrong time and gets punished all the time. He just always got punished, whether it's a handball in the box, whether it's a red card, whether it's a foul in the box, whether it's an own goal. Like it was just constant with this guy. Yeah, he's played 10 games. So like I don't know. He's
13.
Okay, three in the FA Cup, 3 in the league, okay? Or 10 in the league, sure. 13 games. And like I haven't seen that, right? So whether that's enough of a runway to say that he's been too cold, I can't give you that, but I can't say that he has improved on what I thought was a chronic issue of just giving away the ball, making errors at crucial times that cost us points. He's improved on that. And the thing that I like, the thing that I like the most about him is the fact that like he doesn't have to play a lot of minutes to give you his top performances. He doesn't have to play 30 games to see the best of him. That's an invaluable skill set, in my opinion. Like when you have a guy that could come in from the cold, not play for like months and then give you an 8 out of 10 performance, what I mean? And play in multiple roles and not look completely out of place. So I can see why you say too cold, but it's just, there wasn't just enough evidence there to support it. He's above average to me. And, I wouldn't sell him just because even as a squad guy, he's a guy that gives you things that you need in the squad.
100%. Go on then, Josh.
Okay. All right. So it's hard for me to rank his season above all, so I'll just say you can just put him in above average, because for me, two things can be true, right? He's a really good player. He's a really good center back. He's probably like an average right back, let's be honest. He's a good center back, though. He does a lot of good things that you like defensively. I agree with all that stuff. I look at him very similar to how I look at Conor Gallagher, who's also a good player. Both should be sold this summer. And I say that because, for one, the club can make a ton of money on both those guys, and neither of those guys are guys that are going to go to another club and make any real big impact or difference. So if I were to tell you could replace Trevoh Chalobah with, say, like a Castillo Luqueba from Leipzig, who's 21, French center back, really good prospect.
No.
I think most people would probably look to try to improve the squad. I know we like Chalobah, but I'm looking to improve my squad. And if I can get somewhere around 80, 85 million for Chalobah and Gallagher in the summer, see you later, boys. Sorry. Both of those guys can be improved on, and you know it, because neither one of them would be in any of your starting 11s with everybody healthy.
Why him, though? Why not fucking Badiashile Disasi?
Because we can get a lot of money for him, and they are not going to garner that sort of money this summer, and we would probably not make money on them if we tried to sell them this summer. And again, I don't think he's a guy that's going to go to any other team and change the trajectory of that team. And for me, I think we can improve by getting a better, younger prospect.
I think he'll be like an Ake if he leaves there.
I mean, I don't know. I
think if he left us and he got anyone had a sniff of him,
if he goes to City, maybe he's not going to be. Is he going to go to Villa? If he goes to Villa, does he make Villa like from 4th to 2nd? No, Villa probably actually goes somewhere. Probably, but improve in what way? They probably next year Villa are probably 6, 7. If we had to really be honest about where they finish next year.
I don't think you sell guys that add value to your club. Like
what value? The value you guys are speaking of is emotional value, and I understand.
Not at all. No, he's a good player. He's a good player, and with a team that is often injured as we have been, you need a guy like that. That's in the
he's
squad.
One of those guys. Couch. He's one of those guys. He missed over half the year.
Fair enough.
What do you want to tell you? He played 10 Premier League games. Good player, but there's nobody we could sell and make plus 40 million on in the summer other than him.
I just don't see better defenders. If you sell him, you weaken our team. That's the way I see it.
Well, you're not selling him and not replacing him. You're selling him and replacing him.
Yeah, but then who are we replacing him with? That's the next question. And when I look at what we've got at the moment, I'm like, are they better than him? No.
Well, you wouldn't be replacing him with somebody on the team. You'd be buying somebody to replace him.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is what we currently have at the moment isn't better than what he is anyway. I'd get it if we sold him for 25 million and it was because, you know, two of our four centre backs were like top and they were playing every week and, you know, had this great chemistry. They're not. He's better in the team than they are.
But Jim, you realize the gap that you're talking about, the margin is so thin. Like the fact he's not like 10 levels better than Disasi or 10, 20 levels better than Batty. He's like slightly better by experience mostly. It's not the gap there in level is not that much. You guys are making it sound like the level, if he leaves, oh my God, we're lost at center back now.
Not that.
We're replacing him with a younger, better prospect.
There's intangibles that he brings to the game, though.
I understand that. I understand that. And Connor brings the same exact intangibles, and I want him sold too because there are better players who will get goals and assists from that position.
But it's different in center back compared to in the midfield, in the central midfield, where
you're talking about intangibles that I could find in other players. His intangibles are things that you get from a workhorse. Like,
well, we've signed 3 center backs and we haven't got those intangibles. Exactly, you want to sign another one? Yeah. So it's going to be chasing it. You know, we have it already.
We have it already, and if we didn't sign the other 2, we could have just had Chalobah instead. Why did we do that? We bought these players because they're meant to be better than what we supposedly already had, and they're not.
I'd be interested. I just would be interested in this opinion. Had Chalobah say like 30 games this year instead of 10. I'd be interested.
No, I agree with that. He's played 13 games. But again, that's not his fault, though, is it? That's again managers.
But guess what? What it does for us is those last 10 that he played really well, those increase that value. So that 25 million that's being tossed around, that was probably a number from last year. That's probably 35 million now. I mean that's something.
Apparently they want 25 million again this year for what they gave.
But look what that did, Jim. 10 games, which I'm saying is not enough to really value him. That added probably another 10 million on his value. So to the club, that is a good thing. But I don't value the 10 games, but the club and somebody wanting to buy him might value those 10 games, and I'm going to hope they're the sucker on that.
But those 10 games allowed us to move from 12 to 6.
Yeah, I mean, he's not. I mean, okay, yeah, that's nice to say. Like, but there was a lot going on before that jump. There was a lot of things going on in motion. He wasn't the sole factor that jumped us from 12 to 6. I mean, he definitely helped. He certainly helped because he brought some experience to a young center back line at the time. But again, the margin that you guys are talking about here is still not enough for me to not take 40 million for the guy. Not even close.
You said a Leipzig guy is going to come in and hold it down for us?
Well, a name that's been tossed around that I've heard is Castel Lukemba, who's a 21-year-old center back from Leipzig. He's a French guy. He's a really good young prospect. A guy like that, I think,
like would improve our team. And Disasi was?
No, Lukeba, from what I've seen, looks better than
25, 26, so he's never been a big young French prospect. He actually did get a call up this year based off his play, but he's never been a guy that's been in
buy, Josh. Why are we always looking to buy? I'm sorry,
did Trevoh Chalobah make the England squad? I just missed that. Or did they call it Harry Maguire over
him? He would have made the England squad, but it's not
those
the point.
10 games, Jem. Those 10 games. Jem, did you see him in those?
Listen, our coach at England still picking Maguire, and he ain't even kicked
Jem, those 10 games were better than anything that Maguire's done all season, right? So why did Maguire make that team over Chalobah?
But he picks that's because of the coach.
Maguire has more intangibles than Chalobah.
He's crap. He's a crap coach.
No, but Maguire is proven at England level, and in the eyes of Southgate, Maguire is proven that he's been there at tournament. So that's why we know that Southgate picks on sentiment a lot. But he can say on his resume. But he can say in his resume he's got to a World Cup semi-final, Euros final. He can say this on his resume, which is why we know Southgate prefers his guys. And Maguire's one of his guys. Luke Shaw's one of his guys as well. He's going to be picked, even though he's hardly played this season. So we know that that's in play when it comes to international football.
Okay. Go on then. Okay.
I do just want to quickly bring Josh back in and just to ask one thing before I talk on Chalobah. So, of our centre backs, we pretty much talked about all of our centre backs now. So are you saying you would only sell Chalobah and you would sign one centre back in the summer?
Well, no. Well, for one, Thiago's leaving, so we're going to have to get a center back to replace him. So that's one. The only other way that they get a center back is if someone leaves. So if they don't sell Chalobah, which is totally, I guess, in the cards, if they don't sell him, they won't probably get another center back. The only way that they're going to get 2 center backs is if they sell Chalobah, which would probably be the only guy that they can sell this summer and turn a profit on. That's
I
what
hear
I'm saying.
you,
I don't
but
like.
if
Listen,
it's your choice, but I'm saying if it's your choice, what would you do? Because obviously we've seen it in the past where we've sold a centre back after only one season, so we could technically do it with Disasi. They could want to cut ties with Badiashile and just firm the loss. Because where are they going to sell him on a loss?
Yeah, but why
So I'm
would
just
they
asking
want to
if you
take
had
a
the
loss?
choice.
Why would they want to take a loss after 1 year on a guy? That doesn't make any financial
I hear
sense.
you, but I'm just saying if you had the choice and you could take all things into a factor, so you can also take into account the money that we could potentially lose on Badie or Disasi. So I'm saying if you had the choice,
Listen,
what
if
would
you're
you do?
asking me if I think he's a better center back than Badiashile and Disasi, I think he is a better center back right now. I would
Okay.
still sell him in the summer. It has nothing to do with the fact that I would or would not sell him. Sorry, it doesn't.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Think he is not a guy that would be in my starting 11 if everyone's healthy in our team, and he's not a guy that I think we can't buy a better center back than. He's not, the margin of his talent is not that much better. But he is. But if you're asking me on pure talent, is he better than those two guys right now? I would say yes. I think he's a more consistent center back than both those guys. But again, if I'm running a business, I just bought those guys last year, and I cannot, unless there's like the biggest Badiashile fan on the planet in France somewhere who wants to spend 50 million on him. The only guy that we can turn and flip a big profit on is Chalo if they want to sell a center back. But hey, listen, they could very well turn. They watch those same 10 games that everybody else loves so much. They may turn and say, "Hey, let's keep the guy."
What about
He's
Colwill?
got
You can
intangibles.
sell Colwill.
No, they just signed him to an 8-year contract. They're not selling it.
Go on then, Ads, just hear you quickly on Chalobah. What are you saying then?
Yeah, I mean, the irony is I didn't really have much to say on him before everybody talked, but now so much was said that I actually have a lot to say, but I'll try and keep it relatively brief. But firstly, again, Jem, you know my thoughts on Chalobah. I think everybody should know by now my thoughts on Chalobah. I would absolutely keep him. I think players like this, you keep in your squad. Again, they're not the most flashy, they're quite low maintenance, but that's what you need in a squad. Again, you don't win trophies, you don't win these things with just 11 players. It's not even just 17 players. It's a 23-man squad that helps push to win trophies or just be successful in a season. And then you look at Real Madrid and Nacho Fernandez and Lucas Vazquez. Look at, let's say, Liverpool with a Joe Gomez, Barcelona with a Sergio Roberto. These aren't the flashiest names. They're not on the biggest contracts, but they're willing to stay and play for the club because the club means more to them than it does to other players that we signed. It means more to
Chalobah. Do you feel this
Chalobah.
way about Gallagher? Just to clarify, do you feel the same way about Gallagher? You want to keep him for these same reasons?
Similar, but with him, again, because we can earn more money for selling Gallagher, it's different. And also, again, because Gallagher, like, he's going to want to start because he's, again, in terms of like the tier and like where he is in terms of midfielders, he can play and start for more teams. So like it makes more sense to sell him because he can go and, let's say, start at Tottenham. Whereas with Chalobah, he couldn't, let's say, go and then start at Tottenham because he isn't better than Romero or Van der Ven. So it's a bit different in that aspect. So like I'm just saying, for me, like Gallagher, I would keep him like in an ideal world because I feel like he could be a good squad player. But if you can get 50, 60 million for him, then it's different because he could start for many other teams. Chalobah isn't going to start for any of the top 6 teams. However, I would keep him because
impact your team.
Pardon?
That's 90 million on 2 guys that don't impact your team in a way that you'd like. I'd like more goals and assists from Gallagher's position.
I agree.
I'd like maybe a little more solidity from a center back position. So if I can get 90 million for 2 guys that I don't think really impact my team to that level, why would I not sell both those guys? And
I hear you, but
with you right now that Gallagher right now is way more important to the team right now than Chalo is.
To a degree, yeah, and that's especially because we haven't seen anything of Lavia yet, and we don't know. But obviously, if Lavia shows what he can do,
but I can project. I think Lavia is a million times better than Gallagher.
I agree.
Just based off of what I've seen him do and the potential that I see him, I think you're going to get way more out of Lavia than Gallagher. So,
but my thing with Gallagher and why I would sell him is just, and I hear what you're saying. My thing with Gallagher is why it's more of a case of son. I don't want to stick too long on this because we're going to do a whole show on it tomorrow with midfielders. Sure. Again, with Gallagher, it's like he's a 50, 60 million player potentially in this market, and he's somebody that would want to start. But Chalobah, I could see him being comfortable and happy just being here and being that guy who's behind the main centre backs, but he gets 20, 30 games a season as long as he's fit. And I just don't feel like with Gallagher, he's going to want to do that because, again, he's tasted the limelight of being the main guy, of the fans loving him, singing his name, having banners, being the captain because Reece James isn't here for the season. So I just don't see him wanting to then revert back to being behind Lavia and then Enzo, I can say they were in the pecking order. So, but again, just sticking back to Chalobah, for all the reasons that I mentioned before, whether it's, again, the likes of Nacho Fernandez, for example, just at Real Madrid, he can be that for us and stay here, be that player who understands what it means to be here, coming up from the academy, having still played with legends before as well. He can pass that through to these guys coming up as well and just be a squad guy. And I think that's fine.
And
I think when you look at what
as a
Yeah, I agree with you. I think
me
he would
like
be
that.
cool. I think he would be cool doing that. And if the team decide, hey, you know what, we don't want to sell this. We don't want to sell this guy. Let's just keep him. We think he's good. Then that's what they'll do, and he'll stay and be fine with that. But I also think that there's a real possibility that they get some offers for him that they will absolutely entertain.
He's most likely
I get what you're saying. I totally understand what you're saying. I'm not. Again, this is not me saying this is a bad player. We got to get rid of him. It's not that. It's just there's a real opportunity to make almost probably close to 90 million on two guys that you can definitely improve on. So
I think if it is 40 to 50 million, if it is 40 million that you can get for Chalobah, then it's a bit more of a question for me. But I just feel like it's 20 to 25. That's what I'm seeing. It's on reports, and I think 20 to 25 for him is like, I'm not that in need of that 20 to 25 for somebody that can stay here and be another 8-9 years and be like a certified squad player for us.
I do think the price should be more than that. We absolutely deserve to demand more for our players. He could definitely 35 million at a minimum would be what I would take for a guy like that. Absolutely. I mean,
no, that's fair. I guess we can wrap up that part of the conversation with him in terms of like whether he will go or not. I just want to talk a little bit on his season. And again, Jem, I've talked with you at nauseum with Chalobah in terms of how much I like him and rate him. He wasn't too cold in these 10 games, if I'm being completely honest. Again, as much as I like Chalobah, like, again, it's funny because, again, the opinions sway so quickly as they do sway on even the manager in just a short period of time. With Chalobah, when he first came back, Chalobah first came back into the team, everybody's talking about, oh, he's a bomb, he needs to go. He cost us against Man City when he came on for like a few seconds, and I think Rodri's shot deflected off of him and people wanted to make him out to be the villain. And I even remember when he started against Leeds and we won 3-2 and cool, that was by like, we won. He was awful that game. He got absolutely destroyed by flipping Matteo Josiah, whatever that guy's name is, their striker. He got destroyed. And then again, even though he played in games against like Brentford and Newcastle and Sheffield United later on, when he came back from another small injury, we conceded 2+ goals in all those games, and some of them he was okay, but some of them he weren't great. So like we can't make out that he was always that amazing. But I stayed consistent through that time. I said that I still want him to stay because I feel like there's a player in here that can be a good squad player for us. And it just turned out that after that little run of games, he started to start more consistently, and he was playing alongside Thiago Silva. And we had a really good run to end the season, and he actually showed his best form, probably his best form that he showed for us in the Chelsea show, at least since Tuchel, where we were obviously one of the best defensive teams in Europe. The fact that he had this run in a team that's been quite horrible, in fact, our worst defensive record ever in Premier League history. But the fact that he came towards the end of the season and helped us be on a consistent run where we were pretty decent defensively and win some games, and also his passing up from the back was great. The pre-assist that he gave to Noni, who then assisted Nico Jackson, that was amazing. So we've had some really good moments, some really good goals. The header against Tottenham, I believe it was, very good header. So like, yeah, above average. I mean, I even feel like I would maybe have said average, because average to me is good. But okay, I can deal with him being in above average because, again, I like Chalobah and I thought he's had a really good impact. And of course, we judge these guys based on their level, because Cucurella we judge harshly because he's 62 million. Chalobah, he's relatively low maintenance from the academy. Above average is where he should be. So yeah, interesting conversation for sure. But,
I agree with that.
But all right, guys, let's move on from Trevoh. It's a long one. We've got Maatsen here, but he hasn't really played, so I'm gonna have to put him in here. Is there anything that anyone wants to say on Maatsen before we move on to Chilwell?
I have a lot to say, and listen, I was with you, Josh, to a degree with obviously the Chalobah conversation. You telling me that Maatsen can't defend? I highly
not only am I telling you that, I've got lots of video proof of it. And there's a reason when people want to talk about Poch, like, oh, he only played him at the wing. Well, in the little preseason run he was on, that people were like, he played good in the preseason. Those were all from like the wing or 10 roles.
So right wing or 10,
right? So he doesn't play him at left back because he's 5'5" and doesn't defend. Cucurella is 5'5", but he's a defense first guy. His mindset is play defense first. If I can get forward, I will get forward. Maatsen's mindset is get forward, and then defense is a back thought for him. And it has hurt Dortmund to a certain extent too. I mean, obviously they're in the final, but so it doesn't really matter. I'm not going to argue he didn't go to Dortmund and do great, but he's done all right. He's gotten yanked a bunch of times in league games for defensive errors. Now he has scored a couple goals there, but this is a guy again that if I can now have a bidding war between say Dortmund and Bayern for Maatsen, and they want to give me 40 or 45 million for him, out the door, dude. Please, listen. He is a decent wingback, a decent offensive wingback. I'll give you that. If we played a wingback system where we didn't really require a defensive left wingback, I'd be like, cool, throw him in. We play with a left back. We need a left back to be able to at least play some defense. That's my take on Maatsen.
I let you have your.
None of that said he's a bad player, by the way. Just not a defensive left back.
I'm glad you added that last bit of caveat, but despite that, I still think you're doing him a massive disservice. And I think some of what you're saying, I hear, and to some part I can take that in, because defensively, no, I'm not going to say he's a lockdown defender. I'm not going to act like Dortmund at times caveat for his defensive capability. But again, it's not like it's not like that's uncommon amongst modern football. Again, we've seen it whether it's Zinchenko or with Cancelo or with Trent, where we see centre back sometimes covering. Obviously, I've seen it with Dortmund too, where Schlotterbeck will sometimes cover the 1v1 duel and allow Maatsen to cover in behind.
His team, by the way, Trent is a massive liability to his team. Massive.
Yeah, some of these guys are, but I don't think Maatsen is a massive liability to his team defensively. And again, we've seen it with Dortmund in the league and in the Champions League, where there's been some decent defensive performances, some that are not great, but what he offers on the ball, his tactical flexibility and how we helped to change their season, he wasn't the only part of that. But he was a massive contributing factor alongside the likes of Jadon Sancho and other players who have really turned up in the second half of the season. This guy is somebody that was massively underused here. And when you look at the tactical solutions that Poch found later on in the season with inverting fullback, you could have found that with Maatsen. And again, I'm not here to say that Maatsen would have helped us to concede less goals in terms of him being a better box defender. But I tell you what, we would have been a better team had we actually used him to invert and control games more, because it was awful with Colwill at left back for a long period of time.
Invert Maatsen to be more defensive and completely null the one thing he does well, which is get forward.
No. He would be more involved in a game inverted, and also he has the ability to also pick his moments to overlap. Because again, he does it for Dortmund. He inverts for Dortmund a lot, but then he also finds periods to overlap Sancho or overlap Adeyemi. So again, this is a player that has the tactical flexibility. You could have been used more in a season where we had Cucurella out for a period of time. Chilwell is almost a non-factor. We had Colwill having a lot of bad performances at left back, and you had someone in Maatsen who could have given you that, and he was in good form in pre-season, but you never really wanted to trust him. In the few times you did trust him, or at least you had to depend on him because you were in dire straits, like Brighton at home, where our captain Gallagher got sent off. We were in dire straits, Matoma was cooking. We had to bring on Maatsen at right wing back to help support the game, and he actually did a good job of locking down Matoma, and we saw that game. But again, did we trust him further? No, we didn't. So of course, if we're going to rank him for this season, he has to be in poor or whatever, because he didn't do much for us, but he went to Dortmund and he showed what he can do. And I feel like if a manager trusted him more, we could have got more out of him for this season and helped us find solutions earlier in the season, not just find them in March, which isn't, again, for me, good enough.
Okay, we need to shift on from Maatsen, who could be sold. His talks today that Dortmund are putting together a 23-odd million pound bid for him when we value him at 35, so they're going to have to come back on that.
We need to add Bozo, sold, injured, and loan, because the caveats are made. But I'm mad with that.
Chalobah's also another one who is up for 25 million, apparently, same as what it was last year. They're looking for the same this year, which we have to wait and see. Anyway, we've got one more left, and it's Chilwell. Now, I was just looking at his stats.
What did I miss? Did I miss somebody? Who did I miss?
In terms of
Maatsen and
James?
Chalobah.
I missed Reece James? Oh, man. Okay. All right.
No, we didn't talk on Reece James. But what can we talk about on Reece James?
We're nothing to talk about.
Bozo. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we can't.
Right.
He just stays as a bozo for doing what he did at the end.
Come on,
that's
Reece.
really
And he was cold in the performances, though. He was actually cold.
He was cooking.
Incredible.
Yeah, against Liverpool, Man City, he had some cold performances, yeah. Forest away.
Forget that. It wasn't enough anyway, sample size with Reece James. We know what he is, but he hasn't played enough this season. 21 appearances, 13 Premier Leagues, 5 FA Cup, 3 EFL Cups. He's played 21 in total games, which is unusual. It doesn't feel like he's played a lot, but he's had 0 goals and only 1 assist in them 21 games that he's appeared in. So where are we placing Ben Chilwell? For me, I'm going to be quite honest with you. Out of the two at the moment, I think he's poor. In fact, I think we should sell him. He's one of the players we should sell. In my
Easy
opinion.
decision of the two. I mean, if you're not going to sell both, you'd have to sell Chilwell.
You have to sell one.
Again,
but
reliability in terms of his fitness isn't there at all.
availability, fitness.
Yeah, and he's not the same player he was pre-injury. We have to accept that he's not the same. He's not got the same confidence.
His decline has been insane.
Yeah, it's everything.
Yeah,
man.
not the same player.
Yeah,
and again, you look at someone like Maatsen, right? Like we look at somebody like Maatsen, yeah, who again defensively you can say, oh, he wasn't this or he's not that, and you have to cater the system around him. He still went up against the likes of Bakayoko in the Champions League, Dembele in the Champions League, and still held his own. He wasn't getting absolutely cooked, but it's like with Chilwell, I see him step on the pitch for us, and it's like defensively you're not at all a lockdown defender, and offensively you offer nothing offensively. Again, we saw what he did against Liverpool against City when he came off the bench at Wembley. Hardly trusted with minutes anymore, even though he's the vice captain. And yet when he comes on, you have one opportunity to cross the ball in, a very easy cross, might I add, and you absolutely fluff your lines. And again, other performances when he's come off the bench or played recently, awful, which is why he's not been a factor even when he's been fit. So this guy has to be sold. He has to be sold.
The injuries definitely affected him. I watch him on the pitch and his heavy touches. He's up and down the movement on the pitch as well. He's heavy. He's just not with it when I watch him. He's just not the same. Yeah. Like I watch him and I'm just like, you're not the same, brother. Like you're just not. Like, and it's really.
It's a far cry from when he was like scoring like, what do you have, like 3 goals and 5-6 assists one season under Tuchel. Like it's just a far cry from that. Like he's just not. And I keep on going back to that because I still think that he's a great ball striker. He's a guy that, like, if you put him inside the box, he'll score a fair few goals for you. But it's just getting there. It's everything that get him there that is the problem, right? And I mean, somebody has to go. It has to be him. I mean, it's hard to say that, like, you know, he was just named vice captain, but again, it's availability for me too, man. Like, if you can't give us minutes, if you cannot actually physically give us minutes, then what purpose do you have in this squad? It's one thing to be nice, you know, you're taking guys out to the bar and, you know, you're being the guy that helps. Yeah, exactly. To help, like, to help bring guys in and like make them feel comfortable and everything. But we need more. You know, you can't.
We need more for 200+ K a week.
Yeah. You need to give us more if you're going to be a leader at this club. You're going to have to give us more.
He was one-on-one with, and he didn't pass the ball. Remember, he got the ball and he was like one-on-one with a goalie, and he should have just had to pass it to the right, and he done the most dumbest thing. I can't remember what he did. Do you remember?
No, I think he was one-on-one, and then he passed it when he could have just shot, and then he passed it behind Sterling. I think it was early in the season he did that.
Stupid, yeah. I remember.
He's had a lot of bad moments, and it's a shame because even before he got the big injury,
really
like,
much to say.
If you remember the Juventus game, like he was incredible in that game, and I think that was on a run where he had scored like 3 in his last 5 or whatever it was. And then Reece James was flying, and then he got injured, and he's just never been the same since.
I agree. When you look at this, guys, this is the defense end of season 23-24 season review rating. No one in the 2 colds. We've got above average. We've got Gusto, Petrovic, Chalobah. In the average, we've got Cucurella, Thiago Silva. In the pause, we have Colwill, Disasi, Sanchez, and Badiashile. And in the ones at the bottom, well, some of them have not been rated, but one that is to be sold is Ben Chilwell. Maatsen, we believe, will probably be sold. Fofana and James, we haven't seen enough of. Tomorrow, we will be doing the midfield, guys. The midfield is the next.
That was actually pretty accurate. I like how that came about because I don't think that we've had any defenders that have been exceptional this season. I don't think any of them have. And you can't, like, when you look at what a defender is supposed to do, which is keep goals out, you know, defend our box. We haven't done a good job of that at all this year. When you look at the fact that we conceded 63 goals, and a lot of that isn't just down to the players. I would agree. I thought a lot of it has to do with our defensive structure and the setup, and the manager in particular. And you know, how many times did we see defenders play well and then not play the next game? You know, like it's just I just couldn't understand it. Right. So everything that I think that rating system accurately details what the season was for us defensively.
I think it was a very good rating by the panel, to be honest with you. I was quite impressed. Tomorrow's is going to be a lot shorter because it's the midfield, so we'll have to go into maybe a bit more detail on some of them. I'm sure when we get to Enzo and Gallagher and these lot, it's going to be more.
I have a question though.
Yeah.
If a bid of 40 or 50 mil came in for Fofana, this summer, do you take it?
Wesley Fofana.
Wesley Fofana.
You taking
Why have
losses
you
on
asked
him
that
already?
question? Why have you asked that question out of the blue? I wonder
I
why.
just want to know. Would you
yes.
take it?
Yes.
What about you,
Yeah.
Kev?
Yeah,
What about
probably.
you, Ads?
We shouldn't have bought him in the first place. For me, so for me, that's just damage limitation selling him. I mean, it would suck if he ended up leaving and then end up showing his form from before the injury, but
Yeah.
it's just one of them. I would actually just give it a season and see how he does, because we can still sell him again the following season if need be.
No,
I
but
would
if that
at least
offer
give him a
comes in
season
for
and see
50
what he can
million,
do.
if that
He has
offer
to play.
comes in for 50 million, you know, like I would take it. Not because I don't trust that, not because I don't think he's a quality center back. It's the fact that like it's 50
Can't
million.
defend with him.
The guy has
Yeah.
been injured for 2 seasons, and
Yeah,
there's no
exactly.
guarantees he's going to be able to come back to where he was before. You know, so I'm taking the money right now and just trying to reinvest it into that position.
You're not getting 40 or 50 million for him. I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
well, not really. That's the thing. But the tricky thing about it is like, because we have Fofana there in the cart, like we can't really like go out and say, oh, we're gonna definitely buy a big centre back, because he could be that guy come in and like sort of cement himself as one of the guys, and then we already have 4 or 5 CBs other than him that aren't named Thiago Silva. So it's a tricky one, and we just have to hope he comes back fully fit and then he can show us the form that was made him such a house, like a heralded name in Europe at the time. So we'll see.
Guys, we will catch up with you tomorrow again, probably around the same time. We got the midfield to discuss. We'll keep you updated on any news tomorrow in regards to the managers as well. Keep yourself eyes peeled, because there's a potential in the next 24, 48 hours, maybe by the end of this week, that we could have an answer to whether Pochettino is at this club or isn't at this club. And we might have to reshuffle the shows if that's the case, because the manager one's on Friday. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens before then. But listen, been a good show. I've enjoyed it. 2 hours and 30 minutes. Take care of yourselves. See you again soon, guys. Peace.